Hello, 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 everybody. Did you miss us? We missed you. It's so good to see you again. We have a special guest with us today. Let me take us over to the thing. Yeah, you're not visible yet. Don't pantomime. You guys should now all be audible.
Yeah, we're visible.
Say hello.
Let's go.
Hi.
Just
Hello.
my character viewer, but hello.
Hi everybody. So, it has been a week. It has been a very long week. I am absolutely fucking exhausted, and given that I have to be in bed in like 3 hours, I have made the executive decision to ask Sage to run the one shot at a different time, so that we can actually explore the environment that they've created for us. Not what you guys were expecting, but god damn it, I love the world already, and I want to have fun with this, so I want to be able to enjoy it.
Considering how last session went, we probably want as much time as possible.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of that barbarian, I swear to god.
you two are just so funny. I think my favorite interaction from last session was when you were gonna try and put more dust on Glug, and I was just like, nah.
He just looked up at me with the biggest eyes, and I'm like, oh, I'm an asshole.
He's like, my dear friend would never do anything to upset
Like, I
me.
fucking would. Like,
Oh,
listen. As a human being, I would do that. Not because I wish any malice, but because it's just funny, and I can fix it in like 2 seconds. So, Sparrow, Sparrow, taketh away.
So true.
I'm just doing the thing where I'm going through everybody's, all the self-promo discords and just throwing them out. Doing my usual self-promo shit.
Come on,
Come ask questions. So, for those of you joining us today, we will be doing a D&D Q&A session. So I have a few questions saved from the last time I did this, yonks back. But if you guys have any D&D questions, now is a good time to ask. We'll try and answer them. Otherwise, we will just talk shit for like 2 hours.
Question 1. Can Jasper have a luck plate?
Why do you want a luck plate so fucking
Can I just say though, it was so amazing that was it like our first ever stream that we did of Taves, where we convinced the chat. It was like, well, if we get to this like
Some number, yeah,
or something, we'll get a luck plate, and we did actually initially get one. And that was so funny.
Yeah, and then I turned it into a wish that you guys could do for content in the game.
I remember what my wish was as well.
Yeah.
I can go back and find them.
No, because I think mine's a spoiler. I think it was something along. I think my wish was just like, please just make Umbra suffer as much as like possible.
Oh, no.
I think that was my wish or something.
You don't need help with that.
I don't. But it's good to know that the DM's on my side for it. I think it was something jokey like that. I can't remember. I can't actually remember what you wrote for, like, if that was my wish or if I actually was just like something a little bit more. Like,
I will go back and look.
I have a feeling it was just like, just let him suffer. Just emotionally hurt my boy. I give you.
You have not
full
written
permission
that.
to just-
No.
Don't worry, darling. I 100% will destroy you emotionally. So it's fine.
I love my OCs,
Not my
but they all
precious
have to
baby
suffer.
boy.
It's like my characters must suffer before they can be happy.
You're gonna suffer, but you'll be happy about it.
Don't tempt her. She burned down a whole fucking library.
Not just one.
You burnt down the Library of Alexandria?
Finally.
Listen, there was extenuating circumstances that I don't want to go into on stream right now, but
Yeah.
possibly, maybe, depending on if I will get arrested for it. Oh, man.
I don't know. I think
Okay,
there's probably a statute of
sorry.
limitations for that.
You'd
I
hope.
was gonna say, I have a serious question. Where were you at 48 BC?
Did I? No, it was. That was when I already had the Camaro, right? Oh no, or was it the 4?
Oh, I wanted to start this by saying, hey guys, do you want to introduce yourself to chat so everyone knows who you are? That did not happen. We are 10 minutes in. So, hey guys, would you like to introduce yourself to chat?
Hello, I'm Senj. I play a funny little goblin in Toadstool Tales. And also I DM occasionally.
Hell yeah. This,
Next.
I will pick somebody.
Who is more agreeable? I'm gonna win.
You go next then. There you go. We've decided.
Hey everyone, I am D, or Night Wanderer. That's Wanderer with an O, with all of the places, and I have been playing Glug Croaker, a happy little Blorbo bard.
Okay, I guess it's me now. Hi. I'm more commonly known as Seratinia. I play Umbra in our Taste or Tale game, who is a Harrigan bard, but today my icon is that of Fortuno, who is the character that we've been playing during our one shot.
Best part is, I think the very first thing I said when you showed him to me was, hey look, it's Slutcore.
Legit. I mean, they can't see the bottom of his outfit, but it literally just like tapers off into like a bodysuit, and then I think it's like thigh highs. So yeah, I think me using the
100%.
2B boots and like leggings in Final Fantasy is just eking over into my actual character designs now.
I mean, fair. If I had the legs for that.
The first thing that came to my mind was Jojo Core, which I guess is like an offshoot of Slutcore.
Yeah.
It actually is though. And it is a very high compliment to have my character be like low key Jojo Core. It makes me
I'm
happy
gonna-
because I watched
I'm
it a
gonna
lot when I was...
repost.
Yes.
I'm gonna repost this image in
Oh, I can actually go to.
D&D group shit post.
I can actually
we
be
let
in
me-
their
let me
shit
just
post
promote
today.
that. Yes.
You can.
I can finally be.
Come into the
I am.
Discord to see our... I love that image so much.
Oh gosh. Oh my
Sparrow,
god.
Sparrow, is there a way that you can show that on stream?
Oh god. I can. Hold on.
I spent like 5 whole minutes making it.
I'm gonna try and slide it over the Discord thing, so give me a second.
Goodbye,
Sarah,
everyone.
it might,
Just
yeah.
replace my image with it briefly.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
That's so
Let's
fucking
go.
good. Oh my gosh.
That'll run.
So fucking
No,
funny.
That's Fortuno when we're just not searching the place and he's just like, I need to put in a report by 7. Let's fucking go.
Fortuna was they're an order cleric, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, he's order cleric.
So
suppose
the
you're
stand
like
is
just-
basically
just-
the order.
Oh my god.
Hi Gunnar. Have you seen any of the upcoming player handbook changes and what are your thoughts on them? I haven't seen too many of them yet. Oh, thank you for the sub. Much appreciated, lovely. Welcome in. I've not seen too much
been
about it.
deliberately... Yeah,
Go on.
I've been deliberately not paying attention to it because I don't want to get upset.
Legit,
Aw.
legit.
That feels like what they're doing with the Final Fantasy changes. It's like, I'm just going to pretend that I don't see these changes. So when I go into the game, I can be sad then and not be sad now. Because I don't even know what
I
the changes
pretend I
are
do
to the,
not see
to the
it.
PHB.
If you have any particular changes that you'd like to discuss, I'd be happy to hear them out. Sorry, I did cut you off. I
No
wonder.
worries, no worries. That's fine. I have seen some. I haven't like specifically looked at the like documents that have been published and all that, but I've seen like other people looking at them. I also watched, I think, GM Workshop at some point, like doing a react to a couple of the videos and stuff. And I do remember that there were things that I like. There were things I liked. There were things I didn't like. the two things that kind of like spring to mind specifically, of course, of the things that I didn't like, because I try not to remember things I like. That would make a far too pleasant life. Is like there was a thing about the paladin that they changed where they get more channel divinities, which seemed like cool nominally, but then they put a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't a channel divinity use into the channel divinity. So basically there's like no change other than you have more resource management, sort of. Like you can do it more times, but you have more things that need it to be fueled by, which I'm not very appreciative of. And the other thing is what I was getting a general impression of a large kind of like streamline happening, which reminded me a whole lot of 4th edition. Which, don't get me wrong, 4th edition did some amazing things that were really good, like the skill challenge ideas I loved. But one of the things that I particularly disliked was the idea that everything kind of felt the same. Like, it didn't matter if you were playing a fighter or a paladin or a cleric or a wizard. You had, like, your dailies, your encounter powers, and your, like, whatever, there was, like, an in-between, or an at-will. Yeah, right, there was, like, an at-will power, an encounter power, and a daily power. And it's like, it just had different names, but it was the same functionality. It was the same thing. So it's like you had your once-a-day power, and it was a bit stronger, and it did things. And then you had your encounter power, and it did things. And then you had your at-will power, and it did things.
It's like, what's the point of playing different classes?
Exactly. Like, it was just, like, at that point, it just became too streamlined for me. I need a certain amount of asymmetry in my like classes and stuff in TTRPGs, like in my crunch. And I'm personally a very, very crunchy person. Like, I go deep into the math of like systems when I explore them.
I don't do math, as my dear friend said once on stream, and it is one of my favorite things they have ever said on my stream. I'm gay. I can't do math.
I can't.
It's
I almost failed maths. For real. So,
like, to be fair,
I got the gay, the ADHD that can't. I got the ADHD and stuff that can't do maths versus like it's just all my upset. Like, we love it. I love it here. I'm glad that's one of your favorites.
It is. It's fucking so funny. The other favorite moment of mine of yours on stream, just from a general standpoint, not necessarily like a Taves standpoint, has been on the stream where we were doing a jumping puzzle together. You were on the call with me, and I just watched you fucking fall across the screen. Just you go, oh no. I'm just like,
I think that was clipped somewhere.
It was. It's my favorite clip on this channel.
Oh god.
How do you feel about backgrounds determining ability score bonuses with the new player handbook? As opposed to it being a racial thing now. Is that what they're changing? That seems weird. I mean, it would make thematic sense, I guess, because it's this. I have no context for this. I've not read any of this, but from just a basic general understanding, having it come from your background indicates that the stat bonuses are coming from the life that your character has lived before this moment. Whereas each background has 3 ability options and the player chooses +2, +1, or +1, +1. Yeah, so I would say, depending on how that's implemented, it could be a better way of flavoring your character. Because instead of saying that they're gifts with them from birth, you know, you've got this background that gives them more of a flavor of how they lived their life.
Okay, I see. So they're kind of like walking back what they did with Tasha's. Because the original Player's Handbook had like specific race, or rather ancestry-based abilities you got, right? So like if you were an orc, half-orc, I think you got like a constitution boost or stuff like that, right? Your abilities were fixed. And then Tasha's came out and they did an optional rule where every character can just choose between a +1, +2, +1, or a 3 +1s. And so now they're doing like a hybrid of that, where you can choose between a limited amount of choices.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, is what I'm getting from what Gunnar wrote in chat.
Yeah.
Like I haven't. So I mean, I get like, I don't have an emotion towards it. I find it strangely like why is
inconsequential.
Juiced? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer giving players more choice to just choose that themselves.
Mm.
I get that it could be like daunting to newer players, but like having the freedom to like not have to worry about, oh well, taking this before it was like, oh, taking this race would be really cool for the idea I had in mind, but they don't offer the right ability score increases. Then when they changed it in Tashes, it was like, oh, now I can play whatever combination of race and class I want without worrying about it being suboptimal. But if they've now tied those to backgrounds, it's like, oh well, now I have to choose the optimal background rather than choose the one that I think is
Yeah.
coolest.
Yeah, that doesn't seem very good.
I mean, the thing is, ultimately, whether you give the choice of +2/+1 to anything, or the race is getting like the specific abilities, or this hybrid version, it's ultimately going to be up to the player whether they want to go for a specific story they want, or whether they want to optimize for it.
Mm.
Like it's still very much up to the players and the DMs to decide what kind of game they want to play, and
Well,
nothing's going to stop you from doing that, no matter what the rule changes are, right?
I've always been of the opinion that you don't really have to compromise between making a sort of narratively flavorful character and making a sort of combat optimized character. I think with sufficient like choice in character customization, I think you can quite easily do both.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In like present 5th edition, not to the extent that you can do with like some other RPGs, but like a lot more now than you could do in 5th edition when it came out.
I honestly, this is just a personal thing of mine. I really never felt backgrounds were very useful. Like, I got that they gave you skills, and like, cool, they gave you a bit of flavor, but they weren't very meaningful. Like, the amount of
They gave you the
times...
skills in the languages, but like the special ability that they gave you was most of the time just like a tepid little thing.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
This might be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of liked that. I kind of dislike the changes recently where it's like it has to offer you some kind of super big like mechanical bonus now, like giving you skills or like giving you spells or like a free feat or something.
Yeah.
I really liked that it gave you a sort of vague, narratively focused feature. And probably my only complaint with it was that there weren't more features like that available.
Okay.
Like, you know, being an entertainer and being able to like perform in a tavern for like to get to stay there for free, I think that's cool. Or like being like an urchin and finding your way around cities more easily. Like, I think stuff like that would be really cool if they just let you sort of have more choice over what you had, rather than just sort of replace it with more like mechanical bonuses. That's sort of my opinion.
No. What about you, Sarah? Do you have any thoughts?
I'm gonna be real. I barely wrapped my head around current like 5e, because I'm still like relatively, in the grand scheme of things, I'm still very new to everything. So part of me is a bit like, I kind of get what we're talking about. Like, definitely like with some things like you were saying about like thematically it could be quite interesting. But as someone who's like barely wrapped my head around it, and I know that 5e's probably, and all of this like stuff has been out for a while, but my brain is more in the lane of like, don't make changes, please. I barely just understood.
I just learned this system. Yeah, I feel that in my soul. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people are getting kind of arced up about, and again, this is just from a personal experience, is they seem to forget that while D&D has its rules, there is literally a passage in the DM's guide that says the DM makes the rules for the table. So if you do not like a rule that they've brought out, then you don't have to follow that rule. If the whole table doesn't want to follow that rule. Also, I have just dropped a ring. Awesome. I hope I won't roll over it. I'm not going to try and get it now. I'm too fucking sore. It's a little nail ring like this. very, very nice.
One of those little grippy, like extendable grippers.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like people get so mad about them bringing out a new system, and the way I kind of view it is them creating a new system not for the people that know how to play D&D. It's for the people who have not yet gotten into D&D, who are intimidated by the system, and are hoping to, and they're creating a system to try and draw them in that appeals to them. And looking at it that way, I'm like, I'm not particularly phased, because if I don't like something in the new guide, I'll just use an old ruling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same. I wanted to go into that because Gunnar said, well, apparently in the new DMG, additional backgrounds can be created under DM supervision. And that is kind of like, I like the fact that they added that, because I think that TTRPG systems do need to explicitly give the players and the DMs the freedom of changing them. Because people are going to inherently kind of like observe a system as a given set of rules that have to be. And God's sake.
Hi, Mike. As for what you don't, I am of the opinion that I have bought so many of these books. I've been gifted so many of these books, and I love them because I love looking through them and finding bits and pieces of things that I like and things that I would like to take for my own homebrew. But at the end of the day, you do not need them. You don't. If you want to tell a story and you have a vague understanding of the rules, that's enough. You're not going to be Matt Mercer level, but fucking no one is Matt Mercer level.
Yep.
No.
Like, big respect to the man, but...
Yeah. Also, like, Critical Role and stuff, like, they are professionals, like, putting on a show for the entertainment of the public, and it's never... Not like never, but it's not designed to be the same as the kind of game that you'd run at home.
Yeah.
It's just not really structured the same way, and sort of trying to emulate that, you're never going to be as you're never going to have as much fun as if you just like as if you just play the game and you know, find out what works for you and what you think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely, Yosemite. And Yosemite Mike, I love that name. In that case, why do I need the new books at all? I can just use what I already have, absolutely. And it's a streaming show. I run games for players, not for an audience. And, exactly. And so this is the thing, like, to answer a question of why do you need the new books? Honestly, you need no books. To harken back to the ancient times of when I started playing. Picture it. Summer 2001.
Oh,
I was 2 years old.
Oh
Yeah,
God!
yeah.
Hang on, I need to figure out how old I was in 2001. 1 second.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
what side of 2001 are we going off?
So the
Oh God, I was 10 years old.
Wait, depending if it was before October 11th, I would have been 0, and after that, I would have been 1.
Jesus.
So...
Oh my God.
Yeah, if it was before November, I would have been 1 year old.
Let's go!
Do you feel old yet, love? That's because I feel old now.
my niece tested that every morning. No, but absolutely, I was 11 as well at that time. But basically, what happened is I was on a couch. No, and a friend of mine just asked me if I had ever heard of fantasy roleplay or AD&D, and I hadn't. And this is how I started roleplaying, right? And we had access to no books whatsoever. We only had what little rudimentary impressions of a game he had played with his cousin, right? So the very first game that I was in, I was playing an elf ranger who lived in a treehouse and got visited by like 28 different dwarves who drank all of his ale. And they embarked on a wild adventure, right? But from that, like our resolution, because we didn't have dice, our conflict resolution system ended up being guessing fingers. Like, depending on what percent chance we had to succeed, the DM would imagine like a number of his fingers, and then the player would guess the finger. And if he got it right, then he succeeded, and if he got it wrong, then he didn't succeed, right? And from that, we like ended up homebrewing an entire like percentile-based system that we then used for years to come. What I'm trying to say is you absolutely do not need books. All you need is imagination. What the books provide is ideas, inspiration, and the math
guide.
if you don't want to be bothered with the math.
And a guide for like
Um,
newer players that have no idea what
absolutely.
they're doing. It gives us a structure that you don't necessarily have. But
Absolutely.
once you have that structure, or once if you decide you don't need that structure, you don't need it. And I'm going to point this out. I am not sponsored by D&D Beyond.
No.
I am not sponsored by anybody at this point. And even if I were, I would tell you the same thing. You don't need the books. I enjoy having
No.
them because I am a lore hound and I love having them to, you know, go through and be like, oh my god, how cool is this new creature? Oh, I need a super scary bad guy for an encounter I want to run. Let's flick through and see. Yeah. So you don't need them, but it's handy to have them. Especially, and sorry, go on.
No. Yeah, my bad. You go.
I'm just about to bitch about something. The fucking price
Go
of
ahead.
these books is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I'm
my
sorry.
uncle got a bunch
Yeah.
of them recently, and I was sat there just like, you know, there are like a bunch of places where people can get PDFs. But he's got like
Legally,
a bunch
we
of
don't-
them now, and I remember sitting there and being like, good for you. Because I guess like having a physical copy can be quite nice, but I was also just like, I know how much all of these cost, but because he's getting into it and he wants to do some more D&D stuff now.
Mm.
And
That's good. Absolutely.
things. It's really fun. I'm really excited because they're doing it as like a family. But I remember seeing him with all the books, and I was there just like, oh, I know how much of a dent that
Oh, yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
That's because
Pretty
he's
much,
excited for it. I was like,
Yeah,
pop off,
especially with
King.
you look like with Wikidot and D&D tools and all of that stuff, you already have a whole lot of like you have a complete compilation of all of the actual rules. All that you're missing is like
Yeah.
the flavor and the theme and stuff.
Mm.
And that's also like the thing is I understand why the Dungeon Master's Guide exists. I understand that it is useful, but I myself have never used the Dungeon Master's Guide beyond like the specific experience tables or sometimes a loot table just to have like a general idea. But like I was some time ago thinking about whether I wanted to do like a little bit of a book presentation occasionally on stream and wanted to check out how much content I would have for that. Turns out I have well over 100 books for TTRPG systems, right? So I collect this shit. I need it because I love to have it in my hands to open it, to look at the art and stuff like that.
Wait. Can we tell them
but-
about your recent one? The one you told me about that you helped create?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, I was gonna say because like as much as like I rag on because like yeah the books can be like really expensive, especially like Gunnar is saying, especially when they get reprinted.
Oh god.
But
Oh, yeah.
like I'm very much as well in the same thing of like I love having physical copies of things. Like my sibling found for me like the PC original like disc thing for A Realm Reborn. Do I have it? Do I have any way to like actually use it? No, I've got the game completely online. But like having physical copies of things, it's just that nice material possession, you know. It's just nice to have them. So I totally also I'm also in the thing of like when people have the books, I'm like, well, holding them is always really nice. Just knowing that you have it physically feels good.
Satisfies the dragon horde brain.
Yeah. And don't get me started on books. Renegade are charging 40 for a reprint of an old book you can get in drive-thru for 5. Yeah, exactly. Like there's companies that do it a bit unfairly and companies that do it a bit more fairly. Like for instance, what I get the impression that Wizards has been trying to do as of late is that they're trying to emulate Magic the Gathering with their D&D books. Like Magic the Gathering is very much a game that is just an enormous money sink. Trust me, I've sunk a lot of money into it. And
Yeah, I've heard
most
this.
of the time, like you're not getting they're basically printing a different kind of money. Like they're printing money that has art on it, and like it's just like this whole FOMO thing and everything. And then with the D&D books as well, like the prices, in my opinion, the prices of the books starting with 5th edition and onwards are just too high. It's too much. Like when I started buying TTRPG books, this was D&D 3.5, and I would get like the books for $30 a pop. And now I understand like this is years ahead and inflation and all of that, but now they're more than twice the price, and
It's
that's
stupid.
just a much larger dent
Mm.
relatively to
Yeah.
whatever you're earning than it used to be earlier.
Yeah,
And
no, fuck
like
that.
that's just
You know,
and quit playing Magic because it was too much of a money sink. Yeah, absolutely.
the thing that shits me, right? In this age of so many mini printers, like 3D printers, being widely available to the public, why the fuck are minis so expensive? Like,
Yeah.
I should not have to spend $45 for a mini this big, a singular mini. That's fucked.
Yeah.
Especially, like, that seems weird. The point I was going to make is I completely agree that it's completely out of fucking hand. The price you pay for dice is really out of hand. I believe that if you want to support particular artists or particular game publishers, then yeah, buy the books from them. It's why I buy books from Evil Hat Publishers. I really, really like Blades in the Dark. I find it quite a fun game. I like that when you buy the book, you also get the PDF version included, and you can use that as much as you like. And that is what I paid for it was $40 AUD.
Yeah.
And that's reasonable.
So
I'm
this-
happy with that.
This is the oldest dice set I have, right? This dice set was
Wow.
bought in October of 2001.
Oh my god.
And at
Oh
the
my
time,
God.
it cost me what would now amount to €4.50.
Oh god. See, I want to learn to make dice. I actually know a few people now that make dice, and I desperately want to ask them to make dice for me, but I'm also too
Specifically
broke
with
to ask.
regards to dice, I'm absolutely in support. Honestly, I absolutely support high prices for dice if they are made by like people who love to make them, who make them
Yes.
beautifully. Like absolutely,
Mass produced
I
is bullshit.
understand. Yeah, exactly, and I do understand the appeal of having like a precious stone set of dice or something like that. That is like extended luxury, and those are extremely expensive, which is fine because it's like precious stones and all that. We're not going to get into the whole market of that, but like if you have the disposable income to actually have something like that, absolutely go for it. Do you absolutely need it in order to play the game? No.
You can play D&D as much as I am a dice dragon. I've gone past dice goblin. I am now a dice dragon. I have enough dice to do that. As much as I love dice, I love the shiny clacky math rocks. You can play D&D with a coin. You can do it. I've done it at Fortress. You can do it with anything. You don't need minis. You don't need maps. You don't need books.
I'm not a minimalist.
Fellow dice dragon. I love it. Yeah. The thing about it is they've commercialized something that, in essence, is something you can do for free. And there are so many good resources online. Like, I will never, ever advocate for for piracy on stream. Right?
There we go.
I will never
advocate for privacy on
I will
stream.
never-
no,
I will never-
advocate for no. Fuck off. I have had
Never
1
officially
hour
and
sleep.
legally advocate for piracy.
Yeah, no, I would
You heard it here
never
first,
do
folks.
that. I would never do that. But I am saying that there is a wonderful amount of resources out there for people that do not have the money to do this. And if you want to support the developers, a good place to go is Humble Bundle, where they often sell a lot of TTRPGs for quite reduced prices, and it supports
Oh, yeah.
charity. That's a really good place to be. Again, I have no affiliate links to Humble Bundle, D&D Beyond, anything like that. The only affiliate that I am at this point is for Arkenforge, which I will shill for because they have an amazing map system, and that's coming from someone who can't make maps. I made a fucking animated train map with full lighting in like 20 minutes. Like,
Hmm.
Hell yeah.
fuck. But the thing is, with the Arkenforge license, you pay once. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. You pay once, and any maps you create are yours, and you can then go on to sell those maps. and make money from them without having to pay Arkenforge, which I think is great. And they allow you to, it's a commercial license as well. I think that's really, really good. And they're an Australian company, so obviously, like, but they are the only affiliate company that I am associated with. So when I tell you that, you know, you don't need to spend money on things, you don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need
And
maps.
not just that, I mean, as long as you're not like specific about the exact TTRPG system that you're using, there is a million free systems out there.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of systems that are really good, that are really fun that you can use. I mean, what was the one that I recently? It was I heard of it on the on one of like the break episodes of Worlds Beyond Number. They were using like Roll for Shoes or something like that. Like that system is absolutely hilarious. Like basically, you start with just like not being able to do anything with like a roll of the dice, and then if you roll high enough, you get like an improved skill in doing that thing, and it's just so fun. But it's like free. It's literally free, and that's the thing. Is like what role playing games essentially boil down to is its storytelling. It is the one of the oldest and noblest traditions humanity has ever had, and in order to tell a story, you don't need anything. You don't need any materials.
No, 100%. The only problem with all of the free systems is sorting the good ones from that are half baked or not very good. Yeah, but that's what the
You won't
money.
know until you play them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and,
mean-
well, there are ways of knowing until you've played them, and I'm going to use this moment to plug shamelessly a friend of ours. Check out.
Ooh, yes.
Was it Crim's
Crim's-
Bacon
Crim's
Pods?
Bacon.
Bacon flavored pods. Bacon
Yes.
flavored pods by Crim's Bacon. They do a podcast of exploring always different RPG systems. Everything is like indie and non-mainstream that they're doing, and they do like one shots in this system. So you can actually check it out. And that's actually something that I am also looking towards starting to do at some point in time, and literally doing like a 3-episode format of an episode of character creation and rules discussion, an episode of the one shot, and then an episode of discussing the system. And I'm looking towards starting that at some point in time with the intention of creating basically a collection or a vault of games that people can check out before they buy or play or buy into or just download.
I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be pretty cool. I was gonna say something.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. You'll have to let me know when you do it so I can tune in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone is always invited to be in the one shots as well. Yeah.
Fuck yes. The only problem I have with that is that you are in a fucked up time zone to me. And I'm projecting here because in this group, I am the one in the worst time zone. Comparatively, for everybody else in this group, you all are in like relatively similar time zone areas. I am the only one in Australia, which means I'm the only one who has to deal with this dumb fucking time zone bullshit. So that's the only
You're
thing that
also
kind of
the one
stops.
who's hosting the stream.
Eeh.
We're just leeching off your popularity.
Don't be funnier than me in my own chat, man.
Have you looked at?
Yes!
Have you looked at group shit posts, by the way?
Oh, not group shit posts. I've looked at the fucking
It's gonna break you.
he
Coming
message.
back to your messages is so funny. Holy
Oh,
shit.
God. For those of you who are not currently in the Discord, there is a so if you join the Discord, there is a D&D group shitpost channel where normally during sessions, my players will be reacting to shit that is happening during the session. But right now, it's just shitposting, and it's great. I love it. I love going back into that shitpost channel afterwards because I just scroll back and be like, oh, what are you oh, I know what you're reacting to. I get more Australian players than I expected, given that my games are scheduled in Pacific time, especially for Call of Cthulhu. It may be that Pacific time is just working exceptionally well for certain Australians. So we can't a lot of time when we want to play, it's not good times for getting games.
Anyone.
Yeah, because like during the week,
Awesome.
you know, I work from like obviously I work from 9 to 5, but that 9 to 5 is fucking everybody else's like evenings when they would play normally. And I was like, that's cool. I'm totally fine about that. I'm totally normal and fine.
Like the
Also,
only reason I'm here
Australians-
is literally because I'm like I have off now. I don't have any work at the moment because it's like literally the middle of the day. I would otherwise be at work.
But also, Australians really love playing Call of Cthulhu because they get to roleplay as living in a less fucked up version of reality.
I legit thought you were gonna go for like a racist joke there, and I'm like,
Oh,
damn,
no.
Sage.
No, I'm only joking about how
About Eldritch Horror,
Australia-
yeah.
about how Australia sucks, not how Australians suck.
Appreciate that. You get an extra treat in your food bowl today.
Also, the names of like the particularly deadly things are always something like cutesy and homely and stuff like that. So it's like
Yeah.
Listen,
you're playing Call of Cthulhu, someone throws you like fucking Nyarlathotep at you, and you go, "Oh, that's wonderful! This is less dangerous than the quaint apple picker spider," you know. And
listen, there is one animal in Australia that I will warn everybody about. Like, there's a lot of animals in Australia that you need to be
Yes.
worried about. Emus, yes, but cassowaries.
Yes.
Cassowaries are
The
fucking terrifying, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're so pretty. How could they? They just like a slightly weirder emu." No, they can unzip people with a claw, and that is how they kill people
Yeah.
normally. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "No, I want to go and see a cassowary." No, you fucking don't. You fucking don't.
You know how everyone thinks like velociraptors were massive because they watched Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park like names their like I think they're like Deinonychuses or something.
Yeah.
They name them raptors. But actually raptors were like turkey sized and really small.
Yeah.
Like cassowaries are what people think velociraptors are like.
The blue bottle, I believe. Although I think the blue ring is so the blue bottle is a jellyfish, and I think that one's the one that causes intense pain. Blue ring octopus is the fatal one, and everyone picks it up. It is the dumbest. It's really cute, but it's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Because you have Australian kids who know better, and you will have full-grown adults ignoring warning signs not to pick up that cute little blue-ringed octopus, and then they get fucking airlifted to a hospital, and maybe they live, if they're lucky. Yeah, Australia's weird, man.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. I don't know if the Australian drop bear is most deadly. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret, right? Just a little one.
Okay.
So there is something called the Australian lie. Now, I can guarantee you, I can go into any country on this earth. I can go into any group on this earth, and I can start telling a story about a drop bear, a hoop snake, or any bullshit I want to tell you about Australia. And if there is an Australian in that group, they will fucking back me up. It's the best. Like,
it's kind of like a little cult.
no, like, I will never have met that person in my life, right? I will never have had any kind of conversation with them, but I'll be going to someone, "Oh yeah, no, I got stung by a hoop snake once. They're fucking terrifying, man." And this person will be like, "Oh yeah, isn't that the one that causes like the necrosis when they bite?" Like, fuck, how did you survive that? That's amazing. And like, they're just fucking selling it with me. I've never met this person before in my life, but they're with me. Hoop snakes don't exist. I'm just gonna put it out there. If you don't know that, hoop snakes don't exist. And the description of a hoop snake should really let you in on the fact it does not exist, because the way it's described is it is a snake that bites its own tail and like spins down a hill as a hoop. But we have convinced people that that's real.
There's a fairly dangerous type of snake back home. The name of it is Poskuk, and it's like basically it translates to jumper, right? Like the snake that jumps. And I was with a friend in an area that was like full of them at some point in time, and we were doing like a whole hike up to a vantage point, right? And so we get warned about these snakes and given like sticks to bash or to do something with, but we're not told what to do with the sticks. So knowing that the name of the snake is the jumping snake, we kind of like go around hitting trees and bushes, kind of like trying to get them to go away.
I'm very sorry.
And
I'm
once
very
you're
sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course.
Thank you for the rage.
Let's go.
Let's fucking go. Sarah, can I get you to do a shout out for me?
Yep.
Welcome in, my loves.
On the ball.
Welcome. How was stream? We will get back to your story in a second. I wonder. I promise.
Yeah.
I'm just. I like to. Oh, you were playing Dungeons and Dragons. How was it? We are currently doing a D&D Q&A session because your girl is tired and I have a limited time. So we're doing a D&D shitpost basically. But welcome. I am the luckiest of lucky red sparrows. I am a Final Fantasy streamer on a quest for 100% Final Fantasy Online. Yes, I know that's insane. And I am also the DM of Taves Tall Tales. Two of my players are with me today, and a lovely guest is with us as well. Every time. Night Wanderer. Fuck it. We have the wonderful Night Wanderer with us, who is a little piece of shit sometimes, but we adore him. Welcome in. All the fun of... Yeah, a little bit. It's an addict thing.
I feel that.
Okay. Night Wanderer, please continue your story.
Well, yeah, no, all there was basically we ended up climbing all the way up this mountain, hitting trees with sticks in order to scare away the snake that's going to jump at us. And then we come across this huge billboard at the end of the trek that says, "Oh, the snake is actually misnamed. What it actually does, it rolls down from a tree branch onto people." It's like, oh, thank you for that warning ahead of time. Yes, excellent. Why did you give me a
It's
stick?
amazing. You were playing some Avatar Legends. Ooh, is that the TTRPG? The Avatar one. Like, obviously it says Avatar Legends, but people name their shit weird stuff, so I'm going to ask. Yes. How is it? I've been wanting to try that one out for a while. But I haven't had the chance, because if you don't know, your girl is stupid busy. I barely have any time to sleep these days. Super easy system to learn. Fuck yeah.
Yes.
Does it stay true to the kind of thematics of the Avatar system? Because I fucking loved that. That is it an anime or is it a cartoon? I can never remember.
I don't know. It depends on which circle you're in. To be honest,
You can
Because
just
it's by the
ask
same
me the
people-
question, you motherfucker.
I know. I asked you another question. But I think it's because I'm pretty sure the studio that made Avatar also made Voltron and amongst like other things. So a lot of people consider their stuff to be more on the side of anime, even though it's initially made for the Western audience. It's kind of confusing. It's in that weird like Venn diagram. That's like slap bang in the middle between anime and cartoon.
It's an
because of its
N2.
style. There you go.
Fair. Okay. So instead of just asking me like a normal person, you put it in my chat, so I will respond to it.
Well, I thought I put it in chat. To be,
Have
I
question.
don't want to talking.
Sparrow, will you do a Final Fantasy campaign once TAVE is over with the TTRPG version that is released? Yes, that is the plan.
Yay.
I don't know if it'll be after.
I'm gonna worm my way into a slot.
No, I don't know if it'll be after TAVEs or if it'll take the
Yeah.
slot that is. So I run TAVEs every 2 weeks. There is a second slot in between that I'm thinking of putting another thing in.
Oh, is it
It's either going to be the Final Fantasy thing, or it's going to be. I've been working on a
the other one that
system.
you're talking about?
Yeah, I've been working on blending Blades in the Dark and Vampire the Masquerade because I really like the disciplines in Vampire the Masquerade, but I really love the setting and the kind of gameplay that is in Blades in the Dark, and I want to kind of blend them to just like create a very not grimdark, but like a very haunted thing.
Yeah.
So
You can always one shot
Blades
it,
in the
test it
Masquerade.
out, and see how it runs.
I'm just in the process of setting up the rules for it, and that's taking a lot more time.
It's just time for me to bring back Wayland Park.
God, I missed that game. I had the best moment in that game. I am so proud of it.
God, that was so good. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So the moment that I will also catch up on the chat in a second. But the moment I'm talking about is I got my players and they were in the middle of a gang war, which is something that happens a lot in Blades of the Dark, and they were looking for help. And so I sent them to Duskball Academy in search of, I can't remember her name, but she was an academic, a relatively high
Lady
level.
Armadale, I think.
Armadale, yes, thank you. No, I don't reuse names. What are you talking about? Yeah, so Lady Armadale. And you know, when they get there, things are fine until they get upstairs and they see like everything's fucking wrecked. There's blood on the walls, like scratch marks down the hall, that kind of thing. And then then they see at the end of the hallway is this woman sort of standing in this disheveled office, kind of looking down at something behind the desk, and just like very still, very relaxed, and she kind of talks to them. What did you guys think she was? I can't remember, because I'm pretty sure you guys...
Do we think like werewolf?
Yeah.
Or like...
Yeah, I think there
I
was a
think we thought
moment where we
werewolf
thought she might be like
initially.
a werewolf or something.
And like maybe she had like transformed and accidentally killed someone by accident, or there was something to do with her and she'd accidentally, or like something had happened and like maybe she had accidentally killed someone in like self-defense. Like we were fully like trying to theorize. I did not expect it to go the way that you ended up.
So what I did was she's having this conversation with them the whole time. And I didn't let them step into the office because it was important that they didn't. And then they stepped in after agreeing to her request that they would help her. And she's like, I need you to solve a murder. And they're like, okay, whose murder? And she looks up at them and the entire left side of her face has like caved in blood and gore and everything. She's a ghost. And she's like, mine. The way they reacted, I felt I felt like a fucking
good.
queen. It was great. I was so
That was-
fucking
it was
proud.
amazing.
Fantastic plot twist.
Best part is that was like I knew like that was one that I kind of set up and I knew was going to happen. There's one where I kind of I'm not going to tell you like the plot twist that I didn't think ahead of, but there are a few that you guys kind of threw me for. I do remember one of my other favorite sessions was one I ran from Melbourne on a shitty Wi-Fi over my phone with you guys, and you guys were tasked with transporting something, transporting a
Oh my
package.
god, yeah.
Yeah, you were tasked because you guys had a train. You were tasked with transporting a package into the heart of the Bloodhounds gang, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And I gave you so many opportunities to ask about this or to investigate it, but you guys are like, no. We're professionals. We do not look
No.
inside this.
No, the problem is that our like leader made sure that our motto was we don't ask questions and we will like guarantee delivery. Like the whole point is we do not investigate the
Yes.
packages, we do not look into them. So that was ultimately our undoing in that
Oh
moment.
yes. So
Well,
what?
the entire time
should've
was
been-
the entire time I was like, I know this is bad, but I'm not going to tell them because I want to do this job and get paid.
Yep.
The silly little clown
So
just
part,
wanted to
it
do
was
his silly
partly
little job.
it was partly me.
Oh, honest
Yeah,
to
it was
God,
part-
it was so
I know.
good.
Waylon was
was
just
partly
too
me being a
naive for
bad
the
influence.
situation. He didn't have the smarts for it.
So what it ended up being for chat's sake was a spirit bomb. So in Blades of the Dark canon, there is a kind of restless dead problem kind of thing. I love the setting. I will ramble on about it for fucking ages, but
Yeah.
basically ghosts are super, super dangerous in the setting. And so what I had the players transport into the heart of this gang's territory, where there are civilians, was a spirit bomb, which was then set off. And they had to live with the fact and make a fucking escape and live with the fact that they just unleashed a horde of ravening ghosts upon a section of this city. I remember I'm pretty sure one of you cursed me out, and I felt so proud.
I think we were very professional about that whole job. We did what we were paid to do. We did it efficiently. We saved like one of the hired thugs that was sent to accompany us.
Ooh. I was very impressed.
We also started a massive turf war that basically destroyed our organization. But like,
Yes.
you know,
Worth it.
Duskfall giveth and
Collateral.
Duskfall taketh away.
I love the setting so much.
Also, just to lighten the mood, I want to try something.
Go on. Oh my fucking god. I hate you so much.
Is this working?
Yes.
Is it
Fuck you.
Oh, it's pogging!
Fuck you.
Pogging!
Fuck you.
Fine. I guess you are my little frog champ. Come here.
I'm just gonna give Fortune a big kiss.
Thank you for the follow, Prince. Much appreciated. I'm sorry. What the fuck's sake?
Glug, glug.
No, can I just say, it looks like every time it goes into the speaking one, it looks like you're like popping out your mouth. Like a little thing where people pop their mouth.
Yeah.
It looks like
That's-
it keeps
that's-
sending me every
that's-
time.
I fucking.
That's a
Goodbye,
new
Mum.
emote I created today called
Oh
Frog
my-
Champ.
God. For those of you who weren't here last time,
Oh my
Um,
god.
oh my god. For those of you who weren't here last time, that is Night Wanderer's character from the whole shot. I have trouble wrapping my head around the blade system. I think I need to play it. It is definitely a system that you do need to kind of just get your teeth into. But it looks so much more complicated than it is. The best way I have of describing it to you is, do you remember when you were a kid and on the playground and you were playing those like imaginary games where you're like, actually, I have a super duper double dog donut thing that allows me to negate this entirely. Very much the same kind of rules at play here. At any point during the system, you can call a flashback and say how you prepared for whatever it is. I really enjoy a lot of the way the system works because it cuts down on what I think is a really difficult thing to do in D&D, which is plan a heist. It is one of the most annoying things to do as a DM for me, is planning a heist, because your players sit there and build and build and build, and you're like, there are like 6 guards and like 2 traps, and they're not complicated. Like, you guys are making this so big. We're gonna go through this door, and it cuts all that out by jumping you straight to the action and saying, you know, okay, so you see 2 guards up ahead, and the player can be like, well, I call a flashback, and I've actually bribed those guards to let us in. And it's like, it's a very much a very intuitive, it sounds complicated, but it's very intuitive and very
There's
give and take.
There's a sort of a mental Charlie horsing required when you're getting into a Powered by the Apocalypse system from any other like D&D like system that has a lot more crunch, because Blades in the Dark was the very first system we tried from Powered by the Apocalypse, and at the time I didn't like it. It felt like too much of a board game to me. It was like all of these phases with planning and not like it was just like, at the time it felt to me like it was a hybrid between a board game and a TTRPG, and I wasn't enjoying it very much. And then much later I tried Masks, and that's when I kind of like realized what the difference is, because coming from mostly D&D but also other systems, I was used to having to have a specific rule to do a specific thing. So it's like this was something that I was particularly taught by Masks in specific, is I don't have to have a rule that allows me to like cast a firebolt, and then a specific other rule that allows me to cast a fireball, and then a third rule that allows me to create a bird made of fire that like goes off. Because the rules that you have, like the moves that you have in the Powered by Apocalypse systems, are much more open-ended and much more creative, and they leave a lot of the narrative control in the player's hands and in the DM's hand. And that is the thing that kind of like needs a getting used to. You need to get used to the fact that your character can actually do a lot more stuff. You just need to check whether they succeed or fail at doing that thing.
Yes, it was what we played for Penny's fundraiser. Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a thing to get into, but once you're into it, oh my god. I genuinely want to play this system. I've not had a chance to play it as a player, but as a DM, it is a lot of fun because you get to kind of watch your players embrace their scoundrel side in a way and get to be the criminals that they want to be in this game. I'm not saying anything about real life. Sorry. You know, they can be bad guys in this game, but it also has that built-in kind of thing about stopping them from being too bad. Like, you can be assassins in this game, but that comes with added difficulty because if you kill somebody in this game, Spirit Wardens are immediately alerted to your location, and within like 10-15 minutes, they will turn up and take the body away. So, like, it's crimes do not, like, murder does not stay hidden for very long. So you've got that added difficulty. So if your players are just fucking killing everyone, then the gangs are all going to unite against them to stop them, because they're now filling the city with a lot of angry ghosts that normal people can't deal with. So I think my favorite way of describing Blades in the Dark in this city, anyway, Duskfall is a city that is enshrouded by lightning, powered by eldritch blood, that Leviathan hunters leave the city to go and get and hunt down eldritch beasts in this blacked out ocean and have to bring it back to power the field that keeps people safe from the scourge of the undead around. And it's just so fucking cool. Sorry.
Yeah. It's also like it's a horrible like bleak, dismal city, but it's probably one of the safest places in this setting to actually live because of that shield.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about the system is, like, if something bad happens to you, to your character, you can just say, no, that doesn't happen. I want to resist that consequence. And then you will automatically reduce the severity of that consequence. But then you have to make a resistance roll, and you take stress depending on how well or badly you roll. So it's like you only have a limited amount of stress, and if you take too much, you will suffer a trauma. But like, if something really bad happens and you can't afford for this to happen, you can be like, no, actually, I want to resist that outcome. And then you automatically, like, either negate it or suffer a reduced version of that consequence. So it's like, it gives the players so much, like, narrative agency in how they tell the story that you don't get in a more, like, crunchy, mechanical system like D&D.
Yeah. It also has a very, at least in my opinion, it allows for a lot more accessibility options straight away. Because in D&D you kind of have, like, you have to go looking for this kind of stuff, but in Blades in the Dark, while it is not necessarily, you do still have to look for it, the blend of technology and magic, as it were, means if your character is in a wheelchair, it is completely feasible for them to have a mechanical, like, walking spider in a wheelchair. That's, like, something that could happen. That is absolutely acceptable in the setting and probably normal in the setting. And I like the fact that it's very accessible and open to a lot, like, and representative of a lot more of the TTRPG community than necessarily other TTRPG systems are. Jesus Christ! It's like, I'm not shitting on other systems, I'm just saying I like that it has that accessibility to it. Because it's something that tends to get overlooked in games, and the thing that pisses me off is the ones that are like, why would you need to have, wheelchair, why would anyone want to be in a wheelchair in a game? Because people are in wheelchairs in real life? Because it's not a horrible thing for them? Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with being in a wheelchair? Like, how does it
Yeah.
affect you in any way? Yeah, it is a rant that I can and will go off on at any given point if I'm given the impetus. But yeah, I just like that it's a really accessible system in that regard. Damn, wish it was that simple in real life. Something bad? Nah, fuck that. I'm gonna spend the day in blissful ignorance. Fucking wish.
I think RPGs have, in general, have gotten like a bit better
Oh
at
yeah.
that recently, just from like personal experience. Like D&D, there's sort of a lot of baggage attached to a game system that's like been around since the 70s and sort of remained in many parts largely unchanged, even like as society has become more accepting. But like the fact that it's grown in popularity recently and reached a wider audience has meant that like people with different like personal experiences can like give feedback and have an input into how the game is designed. Like instead of like a prosthetic arm being like a special magic item that's really rare to find and is like better than it's like magic and it's better than a regular arm. Like in recent editions, now it's a common magic item. It functions exactly the same as a regular arm, and it's just like you can have it from the get-go, right? And you can just sort of play that character if you want without having to like beg your DM to give you a magic item just so you can play a character who's like differently abled.
Yeah, no, I will
It's
admit.
just like a small example.
No, it's a good example. I will admit that things are getting better. I'm just, yeah. I like that it is. And the people that kind of piss me off are the ones that are like, why are we changing? Because there are more people in it now. Fuck Nard.
Yeah.
Hey Xavier, welcome in, lovely. How you doing? Glad I got to catch your stream before I hit the hay? Hell yeah. Make sure, like, if you do get the rest, get the good rest. Make sure you drink water. Take your meds if you need them. Eat some fucking food! All of my viewers do not eat food, do not eat water, do not drink water, and do not take their fucking meds when they should. Not because they were avoiding it, but because they forget. Sarah, I heard that. Have you taken your meds?
I've got water. I don't have meds to take at the moment, so I'm
Okay.
drinking water.
Yeah, like, I think if a game can be more accessible, it should be. There's no reason for it not to be. There's no harm in making it more accessible. And that's the thing that irritates the fuck out of me when people come into my DMs or like I've had people come into my DMs get pissy about things that I am running. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't ask you. Second of all, like I don't care. Like I have had people get mad that I'm a female DM. And I'm like, okay. It's like, you know, D&D is for men. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, fuck off.
For a long time that was the problem. That was kind of why D&D sucked.
Also, Night Wanderer, fuck you.
Because it was like, oh,
Shut up.
What have I missed?
It's in the ship channel. Shut the fuck up.
Oh dear.
Yeah, no, I think it gets ridiculous that people get mad about it, and the more mad they get about the dumb shit, the less I take seriously the louder voices in the criticism sphere. Because they're not like if they're shitting on new people who I'm not doing anything wrong in this system. I'm not really homebrewing all that much to it necessarily that you guys have necessarily encountered yet. But like the only thing the main thing they're taking issue with is the fact that I have the audacity to be female and play D&D on Twitch. Like, how boring is your life? You're mad about that. By the way, that is how I react to a lot of like the hate DMs that I get. I don't care. I don't read them.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the best way to do it.
yeah, like if you've sent me one and you're waiting for me to get mad and shout at you or something, I have deleted it and I have moved on. Like, I don't give a shit. And I don't know, maybe that's just inviting trouble, but what?
No.
No, I'm just like looking at the chat and like with Xavier Ray saying, "Wait, people really say that? I'm super new to D&D. I still haven't played my first game." To which my first thought was, they still haven't had their good berry pop. But Yosemite then replied to,
Dude.
"I haven't been in the hobby since the late 70s without ever encountering that." And that's just kind of like the thing. Like for me, like I said, I've been in it since like 2001, so like 23 years now. And in the 23 years, I have not even had a single horror story until like a couple of years ago, which was very mild and very quickly resolved. It's very much a potluck of what you get in your experience. And that is one of the reasons why I'm very much trying to advocate for people approaching the hobby in a very healthy and kind of like normal way, and just saying, look, we're all here to have fun and to tell a story together, and you just need to find like the people who vibe well with you. And sometimes you will have luck. Like I personally have had tremendous luck. I have never been without a group. There has not been, since I started, there has not been a time period in which I did not have a regular group playing. And I am acutely aware of how rare that actually
What the
is.
fuck?
On top of that, like I've been no, but seriously,
So jealous.
It's like I've been running the same campaign since 2015. My World of Darkness
Okay.
game started in 2015, and I've been still
Jesus.
running it. Like my group is like long-term playing. Like we're like, and this is what I'm trying to say is this is an enormous blessing. So I am aware of the fact that you can get through this without ever encountering bad stuff. However, as with every single aspect of life, the bad stuff exists, and it is going to hit very good people in very bad ways. Which is why the good beings of the community really need to kind of like be open and available for people, like have a good experience.
It's kind of why I really, really insist on a lot of like safety tools. So all of you have experienced this with me. I will fucking derail an entire session to just double check with someone. Hey, are you good?
absolutely.
Like.
That's not really derailing, though. That's just like.
No,
That's just thoughtful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think I make you guys join me at like 8 for when we go live at 8:30, just so I can do a check-in. Make sure everyone's good and healthy and feeling okay. And I feel like that's a normal thing to do. So I have this thing, like, if you're at my table, I look after you. That's just what it is. Even if, so all of my one-shot players, right? All of them at Fortress that I when I DM for them, while they're at my table, they are my responsibility. Their mental health is my responsibility. That's a lot of responsibility, but insofar as what I can do to influence that. So I am not going to tell a story that is going to hurt people in a way that they do not enjoy. Like, Sarah, right? I will traumatize the fuck out of you, but I will not do so in a way.
Libraries.
What? Betting libraries. But not in a way that you have not A, consented to, or B, enjoy. Like, that is just a simple rule.
Yeah.
And the ones that get mad at me, not at me. I've not really had people get mad at me for safety tools, but I've seen it happen a lot on Twitter. People going around like, why do you need safety tools? Because people are trusting you at their table.
Yeah.
You should take that as a responsibility to look after them. And
Yeah.
the point of safety tools is that they shouldn't be needed. You know what I mean? Like, you should not be running a game that is going to cause distress for your players. But you are not perfect as a human being. You may not know triggers that your players have. So giving them the option to say, hey, this is bothering me, can we move on? Just means you can relax a little bit. You don't have to be constantly worried about, hey, is this gonna cause an issue? If you trust your players to go, hey, I'm not comfortable, you can relax, you can breathe. Like, in a way, trusting you guys with the safety tools makes me a much more relaxed DM. I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just that; it's even the fact, like, without ever needing to. This is a thing that I've seen in several games happen, and it is a good thing. Is that there is always a list of lines and veils made publicly available without obviously targeting any specific person
Yes.
who has lined or veiled
Yeah.
anything. But it is absolutely important to have that available to all players to see, because you can never
Yes.
know what the reaction of the individual that has an issue with it is going to be if the issue comes up. Which means that if there are other people who are also aware of this potentially being an issue for someone, you're kind of like taking care of each other. You're making
Yeah.
sure that nothing's going on, especially if like someone's reaction to a trigger is maybe to shut down or not to be able to say anything because it is an issue. Then you have someone else saying, hey, hold on, this is one of the things on the list that we should avoid. Let's just like take a break, make sure
Yeah, I
everyone's
think
okay.
I got a similar thing where that actually was like put into play in a session that I was in, because I can't remember if I myself had ever personally said it, but like yelling really intense,
Yeah.
like yelling is something that I'm really not comfortable with, which never happened in this game. But there was a game that I was in where things just got a little bit too passionate in the moment, and then afterwards we kind of were like, okay, that kind of happened, let's just take a break for a second and then continue, or if people are comfortable to continue session afterwards, because like after that I think my go-to is usually to just shut down.
No,
Yeah.
I remember
So
when it happened.
that was kind of
Yeah,
so
it was
that
in
kind of happened, and then we
Taves.
were able to kind of no, it wasn't a Taves one, so
No,
that
it
must be
was
something
because it
different
was
then,
in
but no, there was
Oh, I know
it was a
that
different one
I
when I was in a different campaign.
Yeah.
I think I
I
told
think
you
I
about
might
it.
Yeah.
know. I think I
You-
might
yeah,
know
you were-
the thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember at the time being like, oh my goodness, but like the good thing is that we did kind of have that moment where it was like, okay, let's step away for a minute, and then we were able to kind of like discuss it, and that was really
Yeah.
good. So
Mhm.
like the fact that like I think it is like very important that there are those kind of safety things, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, but like that would never happen.
Yeah.
It could, and like
Yeah.
so I was like really lucky that I was like in a group at the time when I was with that, where it was kind of like that stuff was still very much
Yeah.
bliss.
Yeah. I remember.
like-
Oops, sorry.
It's just like it's better to like bring an umbrella with you when you go out and it doesn't rain than to go out without an umbrella and then get caught in a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember because I felt so bad, right, about this. So when you went to the Hunters Hall, there was someone yelling in the Hunters Hall, and I got 2 words in before I remembered, shit, you're quite sensitive to that. So I immediately dropped it down, and I felt so guilty for like 2 days after that. Like I
Okay,
apologized
it's
so
fine.
many times.
That's the thing. Like one of my things is why like even like the card system that we use, where we say like green, orange, red, like the traffic light system, is also really good, because like sometimes, and this isn't like for everyone, like especially because like at the end of the day, especially streaming D&D, it's like a performance for
Yeah.
your audience. So occasionally, you kind of get really into the vibe, and it's just one of those cases where sometimes people just get a little bit lost in the source of the performance.
Yeah.
And that's why then like being able to turn around and like message someone and say, oh, like we're getting a little bit into like yellow on this point where this is happening,
Yeah.
and then but like that's why it's like I never hold it against anyone, because like just because I have something that I'm a little bit more sensitive to doesn't mean like if it does happen by accident, or even if it happened on purpose, it's just one of those things where it's like we could just talk about it afterwards. But like I never was like upset with you afterwards. I was just like, no, don't no, it's not your fault. Like it literally just happens.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to worry about with it. But that's why it's like good to.
There's
why
a difference
I'm like,
between when these things happen, so to speak, in good faith, as
Yeah.
in they are
Yeah.
not happening on purpose, and when they are happening specifically to produce a reaction.
exactly.
Yeah, I had a player at Fortress that made me like super duper uncomfortable. Wait, hold on, I'm gonna make sure that the thank you, Frog Toys, for the follow, much appreciated. I'm just gonna make sure the my boss isn't
Oh.
here. Just double checking. Okay, so
Frog toys. Can we get a frog champ?
do it.
Bring him back quickly.
Hold
Bring
on.
back.
Bring him back, it's fine.
Hold on, I need to reopen reactive by
So yeah, one of the players at the
hold on.
fuck
Frog
me.
Champ.
Hey.
Fine. I guess you are my little frog champ. Come here.
Skitches. You get on the
Just face
place.
drawing.
I'm gonna probably ask you to make that an emote on my channel. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. As it should be.
Or at least in the Discord. Yeah. No, so I had a player at Fortress who crossed my lines as a DM. And that was quite unsettling. I handled it because I have enough experience to do that. But for a newer DM stepping into that, like I wouldn't have wanted to be them. There are always those tense moments of like, do I push this boundary? And having those safety tools gives you the reassurance that you can. I'm not going to discuss what it was, but it was definitely something that was like, that is not happening at my table. And if you persist with that, you will leave. I will not refund you, and you can get the fuck out. But it got handled.
I had a moment, like in our Vampire the Masquerade game, my home game. There was a situation in which my character was doing some extreme torture to an NPC to kind of like get information out, and I like described it in visceral detail, right? And at the time, it didn't seem like anyone was bothered by it or anything. But sometime later, we were talking with one of the guys who was a relatively new player to our group, and so we found out two interesting things. One thing was that he said that he generally liked the games a lot and tended to dream about them, like after the game. And then he like mentioned that maybe it was a bit of a nightmare that specific session, right? So I had to like I was no look, like if it ever goes overboard, please tell me. Like,
Yeah.
And his reaction was kind of like, oh, he didn't want to like upset the flow of the game or everything. Which I was like, no. The game fucking doesn't matter if it's making you uncomfortable. Like you stop it. You pause it and tell, hey guys, I'm not comfortable with this level. Can we like off screen it? Can we not? Can we exit? Like,
yeah, you should never make yourself uncomfortable in a game like that.
No.
First of all, thank you, Ragnar Kawai. What a name, by the way. Thank you for the follow, much appreciated. Welcome in. Yeah, no,
I know who that is. Hello.
Oh, you know them. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yo.
Yeah, I have a very simple rule at my table. I do not give a shit about the game. I care about my players. Like, I have invested a lot into Taves. Me and my sister have built this world, and we have put so much love into it. And both of us would drop the game in an instant if my players were in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, if there was a point in the game where they're like, I can't do this, I just can't. And I was like, okay, we stop, we decompress, we do the safety stuff, and we move on. You know, like, I feel like that is the minimum that is expected of me as a DM.
Yeah.
So
yes, but it's also like so that the conversation isn't too sort of one-sided. It's a shared responsibility, right? Because obviously the DM like leads the session in a sense. So often they're treated with a greater authority than the players, but like it's just as much the player's responsibility to like if there's like lines and veils in place to respect those and to take reasonable measures to ensure that they're not making the rest of the group uncomfortable.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I also think there's also a responsibility for the player as well to communicate things like, let's say, for example, like some of the scenarios we used earlier, like it doesn't just fall down to the DM to kind of realize if something's wrong. Like I've also like said, like also then like as a player, I need to like communicate. Like even like there shouldn't be a fear of, oh, what if I ruin it for everyone else? It's like it's supposed to be fun for everyone at the end of the day. And as a player, you need to communicate with like your GM if you're uncomfortable, because they're not gonna know. Like if it's something that maybe you weren't sure if you were unsure about or how you felt about it, but then like you're in that experience, like let's say for example, like intense score, like, and I was having a day where I was like, oh, I'm really not vibing with this, and it's my responsibility to go to the DM. Actually, today this isn't really vibing. Can we maybe like
Yeah.
knock it down a few pegs? And that, yeah, like even though the DM is the one who is quote unquote kind of in charge of the session, it's kind of like, if you think about it in like a, like, the DM is the tank and we're all like the DPS and support, but we still need to contribute our piece
Yeah.
and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to ensure like
Yeah,
everything
Yeah.
kind of
It's-
works as like a synergy.
it's a group responsibility, definitely.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, the hobby is fully collaborative. The hobby is
Yes.
Yes.
cooperative storytelling. It is as much the responsibility of the players as it is of the DM
Yeah.
to have fun at the table. You have
Yes.
to have a
Yeah.
consensus of what kind of story you have to tell, and just because like it is fine to treat the DM as having a greater responsibility because they are technically in more control of the story because they're juggling so many things. But you also absolutely have to keep in mind that by virtue of juggling so many things, by wrangling so many cats, by taking responsibility for so many different things, you absolutely need to lighten that load for them. Like, do
Yeah.
stuff that you can do to make it easier for them, and do it mutually. You know, just
Yeah.
like have stuff that you're doing. Like,
Yeah.
I also think
you know,
about
you
how,
can't
There's a
especially,
sort
just
of
I was saying, especially if you're a DM that streams, there's a whole
Mhm.
other like set of cats to wrangle.
Oh
So
god,
Yeah.
yeah.
anything that like we can do as players to be like, you know, what can
Mm.
we do to kind of, and then we end up
Yeah.
making it worse by being like, oh, let's choose the one thing that the DM didn't plan
Mm.
to do today.
Yeah.
yeah,
God,
absolutely.
But
one of my
no,
There's
sorry, go on.
there's like an asymmetry in how people talk about players versus how people talk about GMs, especially in D&D, where it's like the DM has sort of quite a lot of like executive power over how the game is run compared to something like Blades in the Dark.
Mm.
And sort of sometimes it's true because the DM does have sort of a different set of game rules that they follow, and sometimes say like if it's like a group of children playing or like there's unruly players, sometimes the DM does have to sort of assume a role of authority. But I think in that asymmetry, people often forget that the DM is there to have fun and have a good time just as much
Yeah.
as the players are.
Yeah.
And like they deserve to have fun and feel safe just as much as any individual player at the table does.
100%.
I'm not really sure where I was going with this tangent, but it's just like it's just D&D and any TTRPG is a collaborative experience. Like everyone has a say in how the story is told, and everyone deserves to have fun and have a good time.
Yeah.
And you know, we should treat all of the people at the table as players in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, I've never agreed with the whole DM versus player thing. I don't think
No.
that's... First of all, if you're coming into DMing, like, I can only really speak from a DM perspective because I haven't played too many games as a player. From a DM perspective, if you are coming into a game versing your players, you are in the wrong hobby right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're not going to have fun.
Unless that has
Yeah.
already been established. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I came to all of my players and said, hey, I want to run the most unfair campaign. I want to run a one shot that is so unfair. I want you guys to, you know, break the shit out of your characters and let's see, you know, if you manage to get to the end or that kind of thing. Then, yeah, DM versus players, you can do that. If you are just playing D&D or any TTRPG, it is DM and player versus the problem, not DM versus players. Like, I don't get that mentality at all. Like, I don't know.
Because at the end of the day, like, I've also seen, like, a lot of experience stuff, like, I've heard where a lot of people kind of are a bit unfair to the DM, because, like, we all as players want to roll good, But sometimes when the GM rolls good, people get really mad about it. But I'm like, hey, if the GM's rolling well and my character dies just because I was having a bad day on dice and they were having a good day, that's just how the cookie crumbled. Like
Yeah.
I've kind of like since I've been playing, like I've kind of learned as well, like it's not just for us as the players to have fun. Like the DM's DMing it because they also they're allowed to have fun as well.
Yeah.
Hey, if that big shambling mound takes away my arm, that's just a price I have to pay because
That is a
just
story.
went a little bit sideways. But like
That
I'm
was,
not mad about it.
That wasn't a
Who's that
shambling
from?
mound that took your arm.
It's from
That was,
chat.
Oh, what was it?
yeah, it was one. It was one of those like tentacle cave. Balhanoth. It was a Balhanoth.
Oh.
I see. But if a Balhanoth takes my arm, that's just how the dice fell that
Yeah.
day.
Uh,
If Umbra died because of 1 point damage difference, because I remember you saying it was one
yeah,
dice, like,
I was
point
so
difference.
fucking. Woof.
But like, if that had gone the other way and Umbra had died, yes, I'm allowed to be sad about it because you get attached to your like
Oh yeah.
players and your like characters. But like, if it died, I'm not gonna like go on this whole like tirade where I'm gonna be like, I can't believe the DM did. No, because like
That's
why
just.
I'm like I'm always like when like don't feel bad for your roles as a DM. I would say because like you're allowed to have as much fun as the players are having fun because there are things that can happen that might break. I always think about there's this one instance where it was in a game I was with Sage on, and we were trying to avoid a conflict at all costs because it was like on the water. So we decided to go
Yeah.
for an intimidation, and you rolled a 32,
Yeah.
and it
Oof.
completely broke the
34.
entire
I think it was.
34.
No,
Thank
it
you.
might have been. Yeah.
It was in the 30s, and it completely broke that
Yeah.
entire interaction to the point where all the NPCs were so intimidated by us that they threw themselves overboard on their boat. And it was one of those cases where it's like sometimes as players we could have fun or we completely break instances. So why can't that be reversed? And then the DM can kind of have a little bit of fun where it's like I can't think of like a full example, but like
Oh, there have
it's one
been
of those
plenty
things
of
where-
moments
It's
in
like-
Taves
I'm
where I
sure
have
there- I'm
fucked
sure
with
there
you
are
guys.
so
It's
many
been
examples.
great.
I'm like,
But like
I'm like, if the
yeah.
if the DM has prepared a cool monologue for their villain, I will always wait for them to
Yes.
finish.
Yes, please.
I love
Because there's
I love-
nothing
I love
there's
the
nothing
monologue.
that sucks more than being a DM, having been in this position, like playing a villain and giving their monologue, and the players are like, "Yeah, I don't care. I stab him," and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
No,
I've been building up to this for ages.
Mm.
It's fine."
I mean, from my point of view,
So
I
it's
think
like,
you're
yeah.
simping
A
over
couple
the
of
villain
comments from
monologue.
chat because we've been kind of
Oh
ignoring
yeah.
it a little bit.
Sorry.
Hi, chat.
So you got from
Sorry, that's-
Yosemite Mike, the early story games of the apocalypse world were a specific reaction to frustrated novelist GM in systems like Storyteller. A few games that are explicitly GM versus player, but they are set up to accommodate that from the start, and 5e characters hardly ever die after level 5 anyway. The thing is, like, the key point in like systems appearing as a reaction is the word frustrated. Like, you're not going to make a system that is a reaction to something you don't like if you're not like particular, like you don't make systems as a revenge to another system, right? This is again a kind of like an unlucky experience that you maybe had with a group or whatever. I know, especially with like horror systems, because horror systems require a huge amount of buy-in on everyone's part, and if you don't get that, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And that's like, there's a difference between the role of the GM and the person as a GM, right? So there are systems that set up the role of a GM as the adversary, right? That set you up as someone who is against the players, trying to kill them. But you still have to keep in mind the fact that you, as a fellow player at the table who is currently in the role of a GM, still want to have fun. You still want to have that cool story out of it. It's not... You're not supposed to go out and like go, I'm going to overtune this so that I definitely kill the player characters. And the players should also not go and be like, I want to try and make this battle the simplest thing possible so that the GM person does not get to enjoy the game. Like, it's again a balance. I myself am a huge, like, I am a huge fan of World of Darkness. Like I said, one of my longest running games is a World of Darkness game. I am a storyteller, but there is still a lot of collab involved in what I set up. Like I've sprawled out a huge amount, and like my game's like a fucking mess. I would not recommend to anyone to do what I've done and just allow all of the rule sets.
Oh fuck
But I
no.
did. And but there was also a thing where I, at some point I said, hey guys, this is like 7 full-on core rule books that I have to keep track of. Please make sure that you know what your abilities do. I will interpret the rules as needed whenever like there's a clash between whether the book covers something or not, but just make sure you know what your shit does, and that's like a part of it where like they have to keep track of that.
Mm.
Just and one more thing, Dork, I was there and your fucking character swam into a river monster and pushed their hand into it to explode
Like-
it. So no, you absolutely are correct for not blaming the DM for taking the
I don't know.
armor
I don't know what the DM could have done for that. No, I I recently lost a character in a game that I actually play with Waffler. Welcome in, by the way, love. My rogue, who has a very familiar name that I kind of made at the same time because I'm not great with names. And so I was so emotional. I was like ready to cry. But here's the thing, the DM even messaged me like, hey, are you okay with this? I'm like, yeah, this is just how the story goes. This is the story the dice is telling. And even though I love her, I loved her so much, like that's just the story the dice tell. I did poke fun at the DM for a little bit afterwards because I have played 3 characters, technically 3. 4 characters, right? And like in my career as a player, in my thing as a player, I've played 4 characters. One of them, their campaign just didn't end. The DM fucked off. The second one died. And the funny thing is, so Nyx is the one that died.
Clarification, The thing for a minute I thought you meant like the DM died. And
No,
I was
no,
like,
no,
wait,
no,
why
no,
are you
no.
laughing?
No. Nyx.
Clarification.
Okay, so Nyx Aria was my Death Domain cleric. No, Grave cleric.
hell yeah.
Grave cleric.
Fucking
And
brave then.
so she crit on every inflict wounds I ever cast. It was great. Really pissed off the DM. I took down a Death Tyrant to like half health. Great fun. Not important. She died in the final battle. Got squished by a fucking dragon. The same DM is the one that fucking killed my rogue. Yes, as a player, and both of them have been with this DM. I'm like, what the fuck,
Is
man?
Is it a particular DM that 3 of us know?
It's one of my mods, Bayleaf.
Oh, okay.
So you guys have not played.
I've-
I don't think you guys have played with him. Have you?
I don't think so.
Did
Possibly
Bailey
once.
potentially do stuff for Blades in the Dark at one point? I feel like that might have been
Possibly.
something, but I can't remember.
Yeah, no,
Um,
he was in Blades in the Dark. I believe he was in Blades in the Dark for a little while.
And very briefly in Blade.
Yeah.
I think I've only had technically two player deaths because there was that one reset one that I was with you where we were resetting from the beginning and like player death was like an
Yeah.
inevitable thing in that bit because it was a reset. I don't know if that counts or not, but my other one was that one, my first ever death experience where I got punched and instantly just was pulverized at level 1.
Exactly,
yeah,
Mike. Trying to win against the players in D&D is pointless. I could win at any time if I wanted to, but what would... and I'm sorry that I'm reading half of your message and adding the other half of the words. It's just
Okay,
I'm not a good reader.
I was going to read it in a second, but go on.
But what would that... No, I am in this now. Do not take away my blunder from me.
That would be terribly malicious of me, wouldn't it? Be proper
Yes, it would.
malfeasance of me to do that.
Yes, absolutely. It would be proper fucking malfeasance. Oh, wait, which reminds me.
Uh-oh.
I keep that on my desk at all times.
But Clary, that's a reference to the game that we play. Would be heroes. To be fair, yeah, malfeasance was the correct word to use. Just like an older version of that word. Like
You
it wasn't
provided
quite
me with an excellent excuse, but an excuse it was.
and it was so fucking funny. So I'm sorry, but that was really fucking
By all
funny.
means. No, absolutely. Basically, what happened is I was having this really dramatic scene with a fellow player, right? And their character was like being very kind of basically mean towards my character for something that my character had said previously, and was just like a grudge that was held for a long time.
Mm.
And what I was trying to say is that the character had been acting with malice towards me. But the word malice refused to appear in any of the 3.5 languages that I speak. Like, it was just not in my brain. And so I gripped and squeezed my linguistic juices as much as I could,
Why
and
would
the
you say
one
that?
droplet that could be expunged from the dry mass that was my brain at that moment was malfeasance.
It was so good.
Malfeasance is a
was-
great word.
Right? Like
I
I'm
was so
like
upset.
so
Great word, but it was the wrong word, and I was
Yeah.
so upset by that.
well, I'm sorry I brought it up here then. I
Oh,
didn't
no,
mean to actually
absolutely, by all
upset you.
No, by all means. But
Ah.
what would that accomplish except ending the game? Yes, exactly. Mike.
Yeah, there's no
Winning
point.
against- winning like there's no like the win is the cool story that you say. Honestly, in my opinion, the win is whenever you get to either finish or end a campaign or a story in a way that everyone remembers it fondly.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a win.
The
Like-
real,
Sorry,
the
go on.
real dragons were the dungeons we made along the way.
Christ.
Zing.
Cracked open a bear.
I, as much as I miss my grave cleric Nyx, her death was so memorable for me that like I grieved for like a good week and a half afterwards because she was my first ever like really tragic character that I wanted to make. So my very first character was this little ball of sunshine, very naive but very nice. She was an artificer fox. Very nice. If you've read Discworld, she was very much like Captain Carrot. If anyone's
Oh my god.
very much that very positive, believes
Oh
so
my
hard
God.
in other people that they kind of start believing themselves just for a
But-
little while.
But Carrot is fucking dangerous. I mean,
Oh,
in like was it? I think it was the first outing, right? It was in Guards where he like comes across the villain and just goes.
oh yeah, no, Captain Carrot, fucking, I love him so much.
Oh,
But she was very much a, how? So I still do this to try and get into the Irish accent. But it's, Anterafel Dustseeker, it's a real pleasure to meet you. I make things fly, and I make things explode, and I'm very good at both. The things I fly tend to survive. The things I explode, not so much. And I'm just like, she was very much like very bright and positive, but she also had a fuck off demon gun. Like, I'll be honest, I did not design that. The DM gave that to me. Best thing ever. But yeah, so she was very naive and very nice. So the next character I played, I wanted to make, go for like the edgy trip. I wanted to see what it was like, you know what I mean? And I had an idea, and so I went with it. I went really dark with that character, like holy shit. For a bit of context, she was a changeling who had been kidnapped by hags with a bunch of other changeling children and forced to bring adventurers back to the hags to be eaten. And if the changelings didn't bring enough humans back to feed on, then they would be the ones on the table. And she managed to escape. And I had this whole moment where she was wandering kind of like the wilds and heard the singing of this caravan. And at that point, her name was just Nyx, And she heard this, and it made such an impact on her that she took the name Arya afterwards, Nyx Arya, and kind of joined up, became a cleric, because that god was the only thing the hags were ever scared of. So that's what she sought out. And so she goes through this whole campaign of being very, like, standoffish, very, like, can't really reveal what I am, very much I am the only one with the memories here, that kind of thing. And she starts to trust. She starts to really connect with these people, and it's towards the end. And And there was a thing where changelings, like in the homebrew thing, changelings, if she was scarred in her true form, it would be a permanent scar. Whereas if she was scarred in a different form, it wouldn't matter. So what she would do was take the names of the people that mattered to her and scar them on herself, so that they would always be remembered by those, like, even when there was no one left to remember them. And so she added the group's names to her before that final battle, and she managed to save them all. I was so proud of her. Like, having the Aura of Life ability fucking busted for this encounter, not gonna lie. But I managed to save them. And at the very end, this fuck-off crystal dragon managed to break me down and literally squish my poor fucking cleric. I was like, oh. And so she died just when she was about to get a happy ending. And I'm like, fuck you. I legit had to be like, listen, that was amazing. Thank you very much for that story, but I need to not talk to you for like 2 days. Because I'm so mad.
Real.
Give me 3 to 5 business days to process this, please.
Yes. Hey, Ral, welcome in, lovely. How you doing? I keep playing.
What I find helps a lot in coping with losing a character is to always have a backup character like primed and ready to go. Not just because it helps, like if you need to jump back into the game to have a character prepared, but also like I get really excited about playing a new character and trying out like a concept I've wanted to try for a while. So if I lose my character, I'll be disappointed and sad, obviously, because I have sort of this emotional connection to this character I've been playing and sort of the experiences in the game, but also like I'll be like, this is an opportunity to start afresh with something I've been excited to try for a while. So it sort of takes the edge off of that sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because when I had my first ever character death, we were a bunch of like brand new players, and I mentioned this story like a few times where the DM I had just very clearly just wanted to stick to what he had written. He didn't want any kind of meandering of any kind. No one was allowed to like go off and do side things. When we tried, we got ambushed, kind of stuff. And it was my first time ever playing a bard, and then I hadn't played a bard before again until I decided to play Umbra, because like when I play a bard, yes, a little bit of like me wanting to flirt with like NPCs and things come through, like, classic bard. But I try to do it in a way that is respectful, that like I know the difference of when it is funny to flirt with like NPCs versus when we're like on our crunch. So like, let's not do that today. Like I try to do it in a way, like, you know, like I've said with you, I think as a DM versus player, I've been like, if I ever accidentally go too far with something, or if I ever like, or if it's like, you know, can Umbra like turn it down a bit, I'm more than happy to be told that. But I never want to like overstep as like, so with Umbra, he's flirty here and there. He's more of a menace than anything. And that was the same with my first ever bard as well. Like he never really set out to be like flirtatious when I had this character. He was just naturally very fruity, as a way to put it. But like he was connecting with, like, we were all level 1, so we were all like connecting with each other. Most of us were like brand new. And like me and this other player, we'd had this connection where like he knew instruments and their character knew like panpipes. So there was like a whole thing of like, oh, like, yeah, he'll totally teach him, and like they can have like a whole little cute bonding moment. We were both really excited about it, but as I was new to the game, I didn't fully realize what did classify as humanoid versus what didn't. So we were trying to save this gnome from this creature, and I can't remember whether it was like a troll or something along. It was an ogre. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was like a giant-esque creature. And I didn't realize that Charm Person wouldn't work, and I wasn't setting out to use Charm Person to quote unquote fuck the thing. It
Yeah.
was more of a I'm using charm person because that can be a distraction because we are only level 1. We'd already
Yeah.
taken a huge hit from this ambush that we'd like gotten attacked by. So let's just try and avoid a confrontation so we don't have to fight this thing. And because I didn't know that it wasn't classified as humanoid, my character was punched and it crit. So I was just instantly gone. Bearing in mind, we're only like 40 minutes into the session and my character was already dead.
Christ.
So because I was
Jesus.
brand new, I didn't think like, oh, I should have bought a backup character because we'd all made
Yeah.
our sheets like the week before and like a group where we'd all like had like a little like party and all like made our characters together. So then I got to spend the next like hour just like I was making a new character sheet while everyone else was fighting, and then unfortunately the pandemic hit, so then we had to kind of like end that campaign. But they all got to have like an extra session because I had to move back before then. Because like that's the whole like everyone moved back and you got a bunch of your rent back at university if you were in halls for the first year when it hit. I just remember like sitting there afterwards, and I had like, and bearing on all of my friends, like bless them, they were trying to bargain with our DM because they were like, "Is there nothing we can do? Can none of us like try and like intervene for it?" Because it did seem kind of crazy that like we'd all
Yeah.
just started
Yeah.
and I was already dead.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fucked.
I mean,
Yeah, so
that is,
there
that
was
is
the-
something that is acceptable if there is a warning before the game and everyone has agreed to it. But other than that, it's like you can't treat a new player like that.
God, no.
Like
No, because most
reminds-
of us, like I would say, like 95% of our players, there's like maybe like 6 of us, and like the vast majority of us were all brand new to the game. And our DM was very experienced. He said he DM'd quite a lot, and we knew because like he would talk about how much he DMs. So it wasn't quite like, oh, when initially going in, like, yeah, there wasn't like a rule of you can't do this, because like our friends came in being, well, this is something that we want to like include in like the game if we can. And it was just one of those kind of things where our DM was very much like no nonsense, like last time session or even in Taves, the amount of like that we kind of like sidetrack ourselves a lot. And I understand, I feel like it's kind of a lot of us are like ADHD things, like, oh, let's go and do this, oh, we just remembered that we had this thing to do, or things like that. There's a lot of like exploration, but our DM was very much like, you're not allowed to do this, we have to stick to this like rigid, you can't do anything else. So it was a little bit like uncomfortable because like, yeah, his go-to was, oh, if you're gonna keep trying to like go away from it, we got ambushed by like a whole bunch of characters. And yeah, at level 1 it was like I'd played very briefly, very like one session as level 3, and I was like, oh wow, this is really cool being level 3, because at that point you kind of feel a little bit unkillable, not completely, but you just don't feel as squishy. But being a level 1 just so squishy that
Yeah.
like, any like a gust of wind could take me out, and it did essentially.
That story reminds me of the first time my dad tried running a game of D&D, and this wasn't his fault. It was partly because he didn't really have any experience. But it was set in a dungeon, in a randomly generated dungeon. First fight, we went up against a goblin. The goblin rolled higher than any of us on initiative. On its first turn, it had just enough movement to run up to me and hit me. It rolled a critical hit on its first attack, rolled max damage on its critical hit, and dealt enough damage to instantly kill me from massive damage from full HP. And that was the first fight before I'd had the chance to do anything. And I could tell that my dad was like, he didn't know what to do, because that's just that was just really bad luck. But it was like, oh, so we just entered the first combat of this game, and I just died because of something that was completely out of my control, and I had no say in the outcome of this whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I feel that. It's why when I had the opportunity to run for like especially new players, as Realm is saying, if I have to run at level 1, I don't typically like to, but if I have to, I will give them level 2 health, but level 1 abilities. And that just
Mm,
that just gives me a little more space to breathe.
yeah.
Sounds like the
Remember,
DM.
like, this is one of the-
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Also, thank you for the follow, Dark Dungeon. Much appreciated. I meant to say it before, and then I got distracted.
Well, Dark Dungeon Media, it was a fight that should have been easily winnable for a pair of level 1 characters in a randomly generated dungeon that was balanced for a group of level 1 characters.
They
But it
might
was
be.
just a...
Sorry, they might be referring to what happened to Sarah.
Yeah, possibly, actually, yeah.
Yours sounds like bad luck.
It is a
Yeah, it was just really
moment
bad
of
luck.
bad game design, in my opinion, for specifically 5e. Because like I'm actually I like literally took the book to look at 3.5 rules for characters, because I literally cannot remember ever having the experience of a level 1 fight, like an encounter for a level 1 party actually being like fully deadly, right? I don't remember ever losing a character, or even like getting afraid of losing a character during a level 1 fight in 3.5. I specifically remember, like, every time I DM a new 5e game, and if it's starting at level 1, it's just anxiety pure,
Yeah.
because it's like it's so hard. And one of the things I think that 3.5 did really well was that the dying thing. Like, I don't remember if there were massive damage rules, and if there weren't. But just like for reference, like the wizard in 3.5 has a D4 for health,
Yeah.
which means
Yeah.
that they have like a total of 6. And I have never had, and I always play spellcasters, and I've never had like a wizard die in 3.5. And it's, I think, just a game design thing. And there was some point where I think the design team also said that they were intending for level 3 to kind of like be the starting level for most parties, and like the levels 1 through 3 were intended to be like a tutorial.
Yeah.
But if they're intended to be a tutorial for new players, why the fuck are
Like-
there like things like massive damage and criticals and all of that, where like just a good hit from something that is ranked at your like encounter
Yeah.
level could just outright obliterate your character? Not cool.
Like I have
Challenge rating is kind of not a great system.
God no.
Yeah.
I have run a few sessions. Obviously, I keep bringing this back to Fortress, but it's because I've got so much experience now with new tables that I run for beginners pretty much weekly. And I actually had a full party wipe twice, right? So in the same day, 2 separate tables that did not know each other, had no interaction, wiped in the same encounter that I had never lost anyone on. And that wasn't on me. They just didn't think. I had them fight. I had them fight 1 hag. 1. And they were level, I believe they were level 2, and there was 6 of them. So like there should have been a balance there. Like she was a weak ass hag. It should have been fine.
That's the thing, because like the thing I've learned out of D&D, like especially, is death is inevitable. It will come, whether you expect it to or not. But that's like the thing, is like whether it's a full wipe near the beginning or like down the line, there is that like sense of, it depends on like with my experience when I was like first killed, it almost felt like the DM had it out for my character specifically, or like just how it kind of felt. It just felt very like rancid, versus like if it happens like in a game like what happened with you, you didn't go in with the intent to be like, let's just like wipe everyone today. It's just how the dice felt. So it kind of like it depends on like yeah, it's a bit like, oh no, they wiped, but it's also like, I'm sure they got like an experience from it, and I'm sure it wasn't like a wholly negative one. Like, yeah,
I did my
I
best.
can't believe we wiped.
I
But, like, yeah, exactly.
I legit stopped rolling behind the screen because I rolled 7 crits on these players. Like, I'm like, no, I need you guys to see this. And I rolled in front of them. I took different dice, rolled in front of them, and I was just critting on these poor
entered the lottery
motherfuckers.
recently?
Yes, I didn't win.
Uh,
I'm so bad. I used up all my luck on dice that didn't matter.
There was a
I was gonna
comment
say.
previously in chat about running for new players is completely different than running for veteran players, and I
Yes.
absolutely agree with that. But also, one thing that I always like would love to have, honestly, is always at least one new player to the hobby at my table, because they reteach you things that you forget.
Yes.
Like just as a basic, like after some time you get into this kind of like mentality of thinking within the scope of the mechanics of the game. So when faced with something like a fire elemental or something, you'll have all of the veteran players going like, okay, I have Ray of Frost and I have like this cold spell and I have this like cold enchantment for my sword and it's vulnerable to cold, so it'll help and everything. And then you got new player going like, can I just take the bucket of water and like
Yeah.
throw it at the thing? It's just,
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
and there was a point where I was trying to introduce a friend to D&D. Didn't really stick, but it was a fun session where she was like, okay, so what skills can I take? And I was like, well, you can take like crafting or something. And she's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll take crafting. I'm like, okay, great. And then the crafting system was like, okay, do you want to make a sword or a bow or anything? And she just went, can I just build a house? And it was just like a moment of, I mean,
Yes.
there's nothing saying you can't.
Listen, I live and die by that. Honest to God, I am such a fucking menace in the Would Be Heroes game, and you've seen me do it. Like there have been moments where I'm just DMing you, like I can't do this because it will ruin the game, and I don't want to ruin the game. But they've not clarified a lot of shit in that system yet, so like there is some broken shit in that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
woof. I think it's good for newbies to be paired up. Yeah. I feel like having that mix allows. So, here's the thing I love about newbies, right? Newbies to D&D is it's not that they're nervous or anything like that. It is that they are there, and you see that moment where they start to enjoy themselves, and they're like, you can see it start to hook them, and they get this like light in their eyes, and you're like, you're in. Like, even if you don't enjoy this particular table, you enjoy something about this enough that you will continue to do it. And you're like, you're now one of us. Welcome. It kind of is a cult.
We got it.
Now that I'm thinking about it, that's very cult-like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but it's absolutely, but it is absolutely like that. And it's not just that, it's the fact that I have seen this interaction so many times where you have a newbie and a veteran, and you actually see them begin to take extreme joy and enjoyment from playing with one another, because you have the newbie who is constantly being supported by the veteran, like going, no, go ahead, do it, do your thing, do whatever you want to do. And the newbie is like starting to get like this buildup of confidence of like, okay, so I can like let loose. I don't have to follow like some arcane set of rules. I can like try stuff out. And as they do, you also parallel to that see the veteran going like, oh my God, I forgot to think like this. Like this works. Like I can actually do this even if it's not on my character sheet. And it's just such a wonderful thing. Like there was like the new player that we have. He's not entirely new to the hobby, but relatively new. And he's in my Chronicles of Darkness campaign, and he's playing a deviant, and he's put up all of his experience points into one power, which is just kind of like regeneration. So basically, he cannot be killed. Like the rules say he cannot be killed. Right?
That sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar, doesn't it? And he like regenerates at a perverse amount. And then you have to have like a downside combined with it.
Yeah.
And he literally took the downside of getting high off of getting hurt. So it's like, while he cannot be destroyed, he can absolutely be removed from combat because he's like off in a stupor somewhere because something just blew off half his face. And he's just like, oh, this is good, as the thing is like regenerating.
Like, that's clever. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he was like, his second power that he took, because he had like leftover, was like just the first level of like an amorphous thing. So he essentially can turn into a puddle. Like he can melt into
Oh my
a puddle.
God, Alex Mack. Did anyone else just flash back to that TV show? Because I fucking did. And
No, I was thinking of Liquid Slam. If you know, you know.
no, I'm thinking of Alex Mack when she turns into that silver puddle. Like, I don't know if everyone's watched that, but now I've just dated myself so hard. Any Aussies in the chat, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
And it's funny because he basically like has the ability to heal. Like he can transfer a power of his to someone else, so he can essentially heal others. But he on his own just flavored it as basically him turning into goop and then the others having to consume it.
Oh God. Oh my God, no. Listen.
They basically just sweat it out, but it's just
It was so underrated. No, right. Agreed. 100% it was underrated. Also, High Wolf. 100% it was underrated. But can I just say, I don't know if everybody's watched this, and again, this is going to date me really, really hard, but did anyone else watch Round the Twist? It was an Australian show, and it was the most
It was
insane premise. Like, it went around the world, but it was the most insane premise. Does everyone else remember the swimming episode? With the fish?
I feel like you've talked about this to me before, though.
I have. I'm just waiting for chat to catch up because it's
I'm so
like a
lost
6.
right now.
I'll explain in a second. What happens in it? Kid learns to swim really, really fast because of a fish, and the pregnant tree. Yeah. Okay. So.
What? Sorry?
Okay. Yeah. Trust me. This does not. Okay. So.
Wait, is
This
this like
kid-
just like a westernized version of Funky Forest? Like, what's going
No,
on? here?
listen. You need to. This show was a fucking insane trip, right? It was like that kind of like, I don't want to say monster of the week because it wasn't really a monster of the week, but it was just like that very episodic kind of thing. Like new shit happened every episode. Obviously,
Like
that's
the
just
Ray Bradbury thing.
And so in one of these episodes, a kid enters into a swimming competition at his school. I don't remember how this happens. I don't know if I want to say this on stream, actually. now that I'm about to explain it, I don't know if I want to explain it out loud. Okay, I'm gonna get clipped for this, but basically what happens is, I don't know how it happens, but he gets a fish, a magical fish, stuck somewhere very private, and it makes
I don't know
it
where
turn
this is
into a
going.
propeller. That's how he wins the fucking swimming. I am not even shitting you. I am genuine. That is an episode that they showed to kids.
Oh my god.
It's propeller.
He's propeller.
But why is it? Why is it?
Don't know.
The magical property of a fish
I don't
to
know.
turn into a fucking
I
propeller?
stopped asking. Listen, this is not a show you ask questions about. This is very much a Twilight Zone show, but for kids.
How is that for kids?
Because it was marketed to kids. The older brother, got knocked up
Jesus.
by a dryad. Yeah, the show fucking
I'm sorry,
yeah,
your
What?
brother got knocked up?
yeah. It fuck
They had an MPreg in this show? What the fuck?
yeah. Listen, like look it up. It is insane what they let through
I don't know
like
if I
a
want to
fucking
look this
broadcast.
up.
Probably not, but the theme
Like, I'm
song
doing
is
some
really
work in my
really
brain.
catchy. There was a giant yeah. To move on to like a slightly safer thing, because I know I just got clipped. I only remember the opening song and strange things happen when you're going round the twist. Yeah, fucking
Apparently they really do.
yes. Yeah, kind of. You kind of do have to be on acid. Maybe that's why I never understood it. By the way, just because my brain jumps off of dumb tangents, I learned earlier this year that I had a very, very boring teenage life. And the reason I know that, and that my parents now know that, is because my dad is quite sick, right? This is not why. But he, as a result of being sick, he has access to CBD oil. And because I have chronic pain, the doctor suggested I try it, see if it works. Turns out I'm allergic to CBD. So, the way I learned that I had a very boring teenagedom is because I did not know I was allergic to it. Like, I feel like I would have learned about that if I was adventurous as a teenager. The show, to go back to the original thought process that I was having, because, you know, the original thought process I was having. Did anyone else watch Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Oh yeah.
I did a little bit, yeah.
That show was fucking terrifying.
It was scary.
I am still traumatized by the fucking return the slab or suffer my gods. Like, fuck off, man. The fucking bathtub barracuda. Fuck off. Oh my god, I loved that show. I loved it. But
An awesome show.
but yeah, like they made some weird shit. Lift up the list.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. God. But yeah, I don't remember what started us on this conversation about Round the Twist, but now you all are inflicted with the knowledge that I have. Alex Mack. It was Alex Mack. Okay, I found the trail. It's fine. I'm good. I haven't watched that yet. I've never really watched that. I feel like it wouldn't have been as creepy if it was. Yeah, if they tried to be creepy, I think it wouldn't have been creepy. But because it was a kids show, it just fucking hit different.
I can't remember what kids show it was, but I swear or like if it was like one of those, those like informational things they show to kids when they're younger, but it kind of scares the kids into kind of like being afraid of it, so then they don't do anything. Like the weird crossing the road ads that you'd see when you were a child, and they were like actually low-key really like terrifying. But I remember just very vaguely remember this one to do with an escalator where someone gets like sucked underneath an escalator, and like since that day I have always like whenever I get onto an escalator I always almost have to like leave enough space to like jump over the at the top or at the bottom.
That is absolutely valid. My cousin actually got her shoes caught in it and actually shredded her foot in an escalator once.
And that's why I'm afraid of escalators.
Fair, so am I.
I'm like what's his face? Will Ferrell in Elf, where he's like one leg all the way out, the other one all the other way and going up. Like
yeah, it's kind of a shame, but also like I feel like they're getting emotionally scarred in new ways, because there are some amazing horror shows on YouTube. Like, holy shit. Like, I know the biggest one at the moment is like obviously The Backrooms, but there are so many really, really good indie horror stuff on YouTube that if you want to be freaked the fuck out, go look them up.
Personal recommendation is Greylock. Greylock is a really good indie.
Fuck yeah.
There's one episode that came out fairly recently to do with like this woman that looks after dogs. And I won't really say too much about it, but oh my goodness, the end of that episode is stuck with me for days.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like here's the thing, I'm not really a horror hound. Like I don't mind horror. It's not my favorite genre. That said, my favorite relaxing, like dumb movie thing that I do, the thing that I put on when I don't want to pay attention to anything, and just want to chill, is really bad zombie movies. Like, I would put those on, not because they're horrifying. I don't find them horrifying. I find them funny, because the entire time I'm watching, I just cannot get into the movie. I'm just thinking about how funny it would have been to film. Like, there's this scene, like, there's always a scene where a survivor gets, tackled and, like, eaten. And all I can think of is how sticky the fake blood must have been and how funny there would have, like, the actors, like, that are doing this are fucking just, like, how hard it would have been not to laugh at this as this person is doing these dramatic death throws. So I put on really shitty zombie movies to relax. There are some really good ones. Like, I will not put on, so weirdly enough, my favorite zombie movie of all time is Train to Busan. It's amazing. It's so fucking good.
That scared me so much when I watched it. The first time I watched that, I was away with family in a small caravan that had large open back window bits, and like I was sleeping in that lounge room that night, so I had to like close all the windows to be like, did that zombie like pop out, please? Did that zombie appear, please?
Yeah. I watched that, and then like 3 days later, I had to go on a train into the city. I went into the so the airport tunnel basically is, you have to go through it to get to the city in Sydney. It just, the way where I was coming from, that was what you had to do. So it was quite a long underground thing. So I'm just sitting there on this fucking rundown train 3 or 4 days after Train to Busan, just sitting there like, I would not survive. I wouldn't. Like, if there is a zombie on this train, I'm fucking dead. Like, there is nothing I can do. Because I was, me. Like, I have no I had no self-defense skills. I do now. Had no self-defense skills then. And I think at that point I wasn't on crutches. I was on a crutch. Because I twisted my knee or something. So I'm like, I just accepted that if there was a zombie on the train, I was fucking dead. And so it was like, whew, brain dead. I've not watched that. Bootleg had the mean girl. No, I've not seen that one. I'm gonna have to get you guys to like send me this shit. Also, I know I'm just rambling now. I'm very sorry.
No, I was thinking about Shaun of the
That's
Dead. I
right.
think it was my first.
Shaun of the Dead is so
one of my first
good.
one, to be honest.
Oh my
Because
God.
my best friend at uni was telling me about how his brother made him watch it when he was like really young, and that one bit near the end when they're all in the pub and the other guy gets grabbed. And
Oh.
he was like, I couldn't watch it for years after that because it really scared him as like a child. And I'm like, to be honest, after watching this scene, I'm like, yeah, if I was in like the headset of like a 7-year-old,
Yeah, that would be fucking terrifying.
Too.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
That was probably the last like movie that actually like scared me. Was I was very young, and it was some sort of vampire movie. I have no idea what it was, and I only remember like vaguely this scene where there's kind of like a final showdown, at some sort of monastery somewhere out in the desert or something, and like there's like this infestation of vampires coming in and attacking them and everything, and there's just this point of like a monk like shakily holding up a cross to the vampire to kind of like repel him. And the vampire just kind of like slaps the cross out and completely consumes the monk. And basically there's like a whole thing of like the implication of the movie is that no one survives, right? Like it was
Yeah.
a last stand that was like death for all. And I just remember like this specific scene, and I remembered like the whole tonality of the movie, like the color scheme was very kind of like dusky orange red dust storm type of thing. And like I've never seen the movie again. I've never recognized it again. I don't even know if I would recognize the scene if I saw it again.
Mm.
But it's like I just remembered that was like a movie that after that I had nightmares. Like I couldn't sleep that night.
Oh,
Luckily, only for
Mm.
that night.
Mhm.
no. Oh, legit. Like, I accidentally. So, when I was staying with my aunt for a couple of nights, like the third time I'd ever stayed with her, she put on Resident Evil, right?
Mm.
Which, now, not a scary movie. Not a problem, right? Probably wasn't that scary then either. But I was very, very young. And I came
Mm.
out at the scene with the lasers in the hallway. Where he gets jigsawed.
yeah.
And so I came out at that moment, and it horrified me. It was so like that was my first real experience with horror.
Mm.
And it was my first real experience with any kind of like gore. So I was not in a good state. I was very young, very anxious, and was not well after that. Now I don't like.
And
Now
yeah,
it's just
the Cube has a similar scene. Yeah, that's right.
yee.
Wafflecraft. The Cube has like I remember that scene specifically because they test everything with shoes, and the
Yeah.
French guy like throws a shoe in and there's nothing, and he goes in and then realizes and goes merde, and then the lasers get him. Like I remember that scene so vividly.
I remember the razor wire.
Yeah.
I like watching because like I'm also a bit of a fraidy cat, and like I've always been, even though I like some horror stuff.
Oh, he got
So, like,
flesh cubes. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's like there's this thing where like I would love watching like analog horrors. Like there's this new one that came out to do with like it's like the boiled creature or something. It's really like amazing. done.
Oh
But it's one of
yes.
those things where when I go to bed at night and my brain is winding down, all I can think about is that like the thing that I've seen is in the room somewhere,
Yep.
or it's gonna
Yeah.
appear. Because like especially with some of my stuff, I like have like I always see like shadows like in the corners of my vision a lot. It's very common for like some of the stuff I have. So like that on top of like, oh, there could be something like lurking there. It's awful. But
Mm.
like things that I really like is also like really bad horror movies. Because they're just so funny.
Yeah, you can't
Like,
get
there's
into
this-
them.
So
No,
there's
'cause
a
they're just
there's a
so
very
funny.
specific reason why when I sleep, I even to this day I sleep with my face turned towards the wall,
Yeah.
Fair.
and this
Yeah.
was the Shadow Man. Basically, my mom had like a coat hanger which she put her poncho on and a hat on top of,
Oh my god.
and that thing hung in my room in like between the crack.
Oh,
of the
that's
dresser and the wall.
terrifying.
And there was like there was a street light outside that would like flicker during the night, so sometimes you would get
Oh,
light in and
no.
sometimes you wouldn't get light in, and the shadow, like the light would hit it in such a way that you always just had like this poncho wearing, hat
Yeah,
wearing
fuck that.
silhouette.
I have a game that
I
will
just
fuck
thought
you
as
up,
a
by the way.
child, like keep looking at that. Like I always had to turn around towards the wall.
My very first horror was Saw, and I was not. Yeah, fucking.
Oh, gee
Here's the
whiz.
thing. I
See, a
like the
good
first
one-
Saw movie. I don't like the rest of them.
No, the first one. No, the first one's really good because the psychological element to it.
Yes, 100%.
But I really like. There's this really bad horror movie. There's one called Critters and Critters 2, which is. And there's also one called I think it's called The Leprechaun. Like, me and my dad
Yes.
watched that one fairly
Oh my
recently. And,
god.
oh my goodness! Like
So
movies like
bad.
those, like horrors like those, are so funny because like the really bad ones are just like, what is going?
Mm.
Like
Mm.
what are we trying to achieve? It's like the first
Yeah.
Hellraiser. Me and my dad always talk about how in the first Hellraiser, there's just this scene where like 'cause the visual effects in that are like incredible.
Mm.
But there's like this bit where it just cuts to one of the characters walking down this pier, and then it just cuts back to the house. And like me and my dad and my sibling were looking at each other like, what was the purpose of this shot? Like what was even the point? Like they could have like just cut that out and no one
Yeah.
would have known that it was
Okay.
missing. Like what is going on here?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so
Um,
good.
Hellraiser has like this weird moment where I think it's like the second or third or fourth, but like somewhere in the middle of the series, it just goes so hard on this like weirdly sexual aspect of it.
Yes, it's very uncomfortable.
Goes like totally like with like the whole the sex scene with like the guy who just like when the cube opens and everything, and it's just like
It's like,
in the middle of the
I
series,
am-
it just goes so weirdly sexual and then just completely forgets about it and everything.
yeah, like it felt like a
Uh,
fever dream. Felt like a proper fever dream.
I've only seen the first
Yeah.
one, but I've heard that it gets very interesting as you go.
I think it's an interesting set of lore. I don't like the
Oh, yeah.
movies. Not because
Oh, yeah.
not because I'm passing judgment on the movies. I'm just saying I don't personally like them. That tends to be Leprechaun. Leprechaun 4 is hilariously bad. Yeah.
Wait, there's more than one. This is new information
Oh.
to me.
Oh honey.
Oh,
Oh god.
I need to let my dad know.
Yeah, no, Eastern horror is
Marathon.
fucking different. It hits different.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Because one of the things that I really dislike, this is the reason why I don't generally watch horror movies nowadays, is because the one thing that I absolutely hate are jump scares. I do not like jump scares. I
I don't know.
I
A
always
very
have
well timed
it-
one
a
occasionally can be good.
cheat to me. It feels like a cheat to me because the fear of loud noises is like one of the very basic visceral fears of men. Like you are evolutionary predisposed to be scared by something loud suddenly happening in your face.
yeah, of course.
Abusing that
Yeah.
for the purpose of a horror movie is just like cheap, in my opinion. And this is why I just don't like that.
No, I get you.
Like honestly, one of the horror movies, so to speak, that like really got me was honestly just Silence of the Lambs. Like,
Yes!
that's
Oh my
fucking
God!
terrifying movie.
Holy shit, yes! Like, I watched that when I, like, probably too young to watch that, I'm gonna be entirely honest. But fucking Hannibal Lecter in that. Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Like, Anthony
He never
Hopkins.
does anything. He never does
Until the
anything.
end. Until the end. He does a lot
Oh,
at the
yeah,
end.
man, that's fine.
Like, very much there is shit that happens at the end. No, but
Yeah,
yeah, no. Silence of the Lambs is one of my favorite horror movies.
absolutely.
Train to Busan is another.
That is a good
That had a few jump scares in it, but the general horror of that show was so masterfully crafted and the story was so well done
The-
that I fucking
The thing I
cried.
see, especially as like from like a game dev point of view as well, the only time that I think a jump scare is acceptable is if they've like built up enough to it that it kind of justifies the point of a jump scare. Because like some games can, or like even movies, can do so well on like the anticipation
Oh,
of
yeah.
something happening and kind of like, is it gonna happen or and then it doesn't, and then they kind of hit you with it after you're like in that false sense of security. I haven't seen the movies, but I've heard that A Quiet Place is really good. with its use of like, making you feel so tense that like you yourself, like apparently because my parents went and saw it at the cinema, they said like even if people would like no one would like eat in the cinema because everyone was actually too afraid to make noise.
Oh yeah.
I
think
the things like that, like I feel like a jump scare has to have a good to have a good jump scare payoff, it has to have like a reason and a build up, not just for scary for the sake of being scary kind of thing.
I think the one that got me the most, the one jump scare that got me the most was in Sinister. I don't know if everybody's watched that. It's okay. It's not a great movie. But there is a scene in it. There's a scene in it, right? Like, and you're watching these horrible crimes happening through these videotapes, right? Obviously, like, you'll understand. And up until this point, you're kind of just dealing with it, and like, it's okay. Fucking weird in a lot of places, and it is a lawnmower scene. And I'm gonna say it because it's been out for a fucking long time. As you're watching this, you're watching the video, and it's just this lawnmower going across the ground, being pushed along. And then at the very last fucking second, you see it about to run over a person, a screaming woman. And then there's a loud noise, it cuts out. That fucked me up. Like, that is the only jump scare that I was like, I didn't care about the movie, but that, whew. Yeah, the end of Sinister is fucking shit. The whole movie, not great. I think the whole reliance on a lot of jump scares and a lot of, like, around the shit things, dumb. There were some really good premises in it, and there were some really good scenes in it. And I think, the lead actor did really, really well. But that is a scene that is burned into my brain. And you don't even see anything bad. You don't even see anything gore. It cuts back to the main character watching it. Like his horrified reaction with a loud noise and a scream. And I was so fucking shook from that. Like, I still get chills remembering it.
One thing that I remember enjoying was the Haunting of Hill House. I really liked that show.
Yes.
Like, I liked the story that they constructed with it.
I remember being horrified at the amount of ghosts everywhere in those scenes. Like, if you go back, like, I am now distinctly uncomfortable.
Yep.
Oh, actually, because my brain is entirely a fucking... What?
I was gonna say, one of the lamest jump scares ever, to raise one on Yosemite Mike here. If you've ever seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, right at the end, where you can clearly tell that it's just a fake dummy through the window.
So fucking stupid. I loved it.
Because the premise of Nightmare on Elm Street is so like interesting, because like dreams and things like that, and as someone who someone who is like afraid of like when you go to sleep and it's like that's when you're most vulnerable. Very good concept, but that final jump scare, like my dad
so bad.
And he was like, just wait. And my sister, who doesn't even like horror movies, she just happened to come down at that last minute when that last scene played, and even she thought it was absolutely hilarious. I'm just like, it is so funny how like
that was my reaction to seeing the face of one of the Ring movies, where like they show for the first
One of
time
the
the
victims?
face of the victim, and it's
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I kissed myself laughing.
Also, Sage, you've been really quiet, and I feel like we're talking over you. Did you want to add in on any of this?
No, I don't really watch much horror.
Okay, that's fair.
To be honest, I kind of clocked out a bit because I'm very sleep deprived.
No, you're fine.
But
Absolutely
I
fair.
am still here and I am listening.
No stress. I just didn't want you to feel excluded. So we'll probably
It's alright.
we can do this battle and end, or we can do one more battle and end. Which would you guys prefer to do?
So maybe I'll make questions.
If you guys feel up for it, I'll
I'm
run
up-
another
I'm
battle
up to
and just
extend
bullshit for
one
half
more
an hour.
battle.
Okay.
Okay? Alright. Okay. Then you guys have us for another half hour. So if you have any D&D questions, by the way, do feel free to ask. We've just been shit talking.
Do you
Yeah.
have any
Another sidetrack.
questions about D&D and this D&D Q&A?
Like, I've watched a lot of horror, and like, even though it's not my favorite genre, I've watched a lot of it, just because, one, it's an easy thing to watch a lot of the time, just because it's so prevalent, and 2 because I was trying to learn how to run a horror story or write a horror story, and you kind of need to study that. I think I'm getting pretty good at it. But
Ordering library.
I love that was such a throwaway fucking line, and you're so mad about it. Like,
Jesus.
you were so fucking mad. You weren't even in the game. You just turned up like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was really funny.
Yeah, especially because you were like, oh, trigger warnings, this next scene might be gruesome because, gore and people dying and criminality and stuff. And there's a fucking burnt down library!
That was actually.
Yeah,
That
it
was
kind of
actually.
was.
No, it was the fact that people were more upset about the books being
Burned than the
mistreated
fucking dead people. And
Yeah.
did the fucking. Yeah, there's a lot of low budget indie horror, but I feel like a lot of like a low budget indie horror doesn't necessarily mean bad. It can be really, really good because you've got to try and work with the resources that you have. Like that's why I like a lot of the YouTube horror. I don't watch a
Yeah.
lot of it because it
Pizza
makes me.
Harness is a really good one for that.
Yes. Ugh. But yes. How do you deal with rules as written versus rules as intended? So as I very much go for rule of cool. And I know that's not exactly what you're talking about, but I want the players to have fun. So if it is not obviously broken, or in a way that it's going to be obviously broken later, I will probably just go, as intended, or what makes the best sense in that situation. But it's very much a collaborative thing. Because I can trust that you guys, like, if I make a rule and then I later on realize how fucking broken that rule is, I know I can go, hey guys, I kind of fucked up here. Can we change this? And you're like, yeah. So it really just does depend on the players, I think. Sorry.
Absolutely. No. In my experience, the only times when rules as intended versus rules as written comes into play and actually becomes a discussion is when there's this sort of, I have still not figured out how to call it, but it's a concept I'm working on. But there's like this idea of how much realism you are inserting into the game, right? So how realistically do you want to observe the game, and how much are you trying to break the game by applying that realism to rules as written? So the most obvious example would be the peasant railgun, right? For anyone who doesn't know about the peasant railgun, rules as written, you can arrange like an infinite number of normal people and have them pass an object across the line to each other until the last person whose task it is to like throw the object at the enemy, right? And because rules is written, all of this can happen within the span of 6 seconds, because a single round is 6 seconds. You now apply physics and say, well, that means that the object has moved this fast in this much time, so it is going to create a perverse amount of damage when it hits, right? So this is the thing where it's like a thing of that is where rules as written stops kind of like applying for me, because you are trying to cherry pick reality aspects to insert them into the game to get an effect. That is where I do not adhere to rules as written, because what you are doing is you are actively seeking loopholes. If that makes sense. As opposed to like two rules just not having been like tested against each other, working together perfectly. So it's like, I would absolutely not allow a peasant railgun. I would absolutely allow like whatever the name is for the bag of holding portable hole arrow that explodes.
Oh, I love that. Yes. You were going to say, Sage?
Sorry, Sage.
With a situation like that, it's like if you run it realistically, you can't pass an object between that many people in such a short span of time in the first place. Absolutely. And then if you run it strictly by the rules, the final peasant in the line throws the object and it just follows the normal rules for throwing, because you're trying to apply realism to an unrealistic scenario.
Exactly. And that's kind of like always the thing of, Okay, you're trying to be realistic. Cast a fireball, motherfucker.
Mm. It's like being realistic in the game is fine, and following rules to the letter is generally fine. But it's like when people like specifically use some rules but ignore other ones to try and like get one over on the DM, that it becomes like a problem.
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah.
Like, I had an had a thing where I was dealing with a DM leash at Fortress. I was playing in one of her. Oh no, it was Rose. I was playing in one of her games. And I had an idea, and I'd never encountered this as a thing, so I ran it past her. I'm like, so minor illusion allows me to create an illusion in a 5-foot square. Rules is written that can fill that square, but if anything moves through it, it's disturbed. Correct? Like, you can see that it's being moved through. So what I did was use it to find an invisible creature. And basically just cast it, created a sphere, like a square of like a thing of, I think, light, and just used it to cherry pick around to try and find this invisible creature, because when it's in that light, it would be visible. Well, not visible, but it would disturb it, and I would see that.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
that, not game breaking.
Perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
And like
Excellent-
that's where I
excellent
would
use of the spell.
choose that is
Yeah.
like rules is intended, not necessarily as written.
Yeah, I had my players sneak up to a camp of bandits by using silent image as a green screen. Like, they literally put up a silent image, project like the silent image is what's behind them,
Oh, that's so clever.
and they just approached like using
That's
it as a green
so
screen.
clever.
And I love that. I made them. I said, okay, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm just gonna have you roll an intelligence check just for the sake of like keeping it up, like being able to move the projection along. They succeeded. Perfect. You know, excellent. I allowed them to sneak up on him.
Yeah.
Perfect thing. It's the same as with if anyone's like listened to the Worlds Beyond Number podcast, where Erika Ishii's character gets confronted with like a golem. And the golem is like a candle golem or a wax golem and has like all of these candles burning. And she just goes, "Can I use prestidigitation to snuff the candles out?"
I never thought about using it like that.
No, that's clever. I like that.
Like, clever, creative use of things that do not seem being the operative word, to have been intended by the rules is perfectly fine. It's fun, it's creative, it's great.
I think
Using it to specifically insert a gotcha moment, nah.
I think it does come down to malice at that point.
Yeah.
Like
Nope, it
if
comes
you're
down to
trying to
malfeasance.
fuck over the I said it and I'm like, oh, I wasn't even trying to make that joke this time. I felt kind of bad. No, like if you're trying to get one over on the DM or try and fuck over the DM, then that's not fair.
Yeah.
If you're just like, hey, this is a kind of cool thing, could I do this? You know, like my favorite example, and it's a horrible example, is the person that cast delayed fireball on like some birdseed, fed it to a bird, had them fly up to the nest, and then it had it explode. And I'm like, that's so horrible. That's fucking awful. But that is such a creative use of the spell to create a distraction.
Creative use, yeah, absolutely.
Like, but yeah, in that case, I don't think there's any malice. But like the peasant railgun and the coffee lock, I think are both like malice. Well, not
Yeah.
necessarily malice in the terms of, just like in the purpose of them is not to engage with the game. It's to break the game. I think that's the difference. Whereas, like, you know, like the delayed fireball, like the minor illusion, like the green screen, it's to engage with the game in a creative way. I think that's the difference
Yeah,
between it.
That's fine.
Not sure if that answers the
Well, it's
question.
like even the coffee lock is like, I cannot imagine a situation in which the group agrees to rest for so many hours.
True. Although, the way I understood that it worked, and I may be completely wrong, is that in the long rest that the other group is taking, like, so the main party's taking, you're taking multiple short rests in that time to recharge your spell slots. So during their long
you would-
rest, that's when you're doing the cycle. Instead of getting the full 8 hours, you're doing 8 short rests to
Yeah,
to do it.
but okay, maybe I didn't like fully read up on it, but as far as I know, like what's the point if you can get everything back on a long rest anyway?
Because you can
I mean, if
you
there's-
can charge up your
It's because the extra, I think the extra spell slots you get from using flexible casting disappear when you finish a long rest.
they don't
as a sorcerer.
after a short rest. So you can
They don't after a short rest.
so it's like sorcery points, I
Oh,
think it
okay,
is. So like you can transfer
okay, you
spell
can
slots
go
to short
more than-
sorcery points and back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
But if you rest, it resets. Like if you do a long rest, it resets.
Yeah.
So if you do the 8
Oh, yeah.
short things, you can basically just fucking supercharge them. Get a shit
okay,
ton
gotcha,
of
gotcha. Oh, yeah,
points.
see, I missed the point where you can actually retain more points than you can
Yeah.
hold.
Or you can
Just-
you can only have up to your
Am I
level
thinking
in
of 2
sorcery
points?
points, but the
Yeah.
extra sorcerer spell slots you can gain aren't limited. They only go away when you finish a long rest.
Oh, I see. You can get more spell slots than you would be aligned. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
By converting warlock spell slots into sorcery points and then sorcery points into sorcerer spell slots.
Like players who try to use shape water yeah, that is a thing. That is a thing that people do.
Wild.
Like
Also, I've seen the comment. It's just that I have a couple of rules ways in the game, and I feel like there's a fine line between like someone stepping in to say, oh, actually, like the spell doesn't work that way, or actually this is, there's a line between offering the advice because it can actually change how the encounter works out, because you might not have like the full knowledge, or like for me, I always remember that like my biggest confusion is between cantrips and spell slots and using them in actions and things like that. Like I always get them confused. If I have someone just telling me, oh, you actually can't do that spell because it's this, and like, oh my goodness, I totally forgot. So like there's times when it can be like really useful to have someone in like your game to say, actually, this is kind of how it works. And like it's never like usually like, well, nice people never do it with the intent to like one up the DM or one
Yeah.
up people or try and like make everyone stick to it. It's more of like, I mean, from my experience, when people have come in to say this is like, I say actually, but not like in the actually like bad sense, but it's more of that thing where as a player, I always find it useful when someone comes in and is like to me like, oh, that isn't really how that works. This is actually kind of what
Yeah.
you'd use that for, in a way of like, not to like force me into a box, but it's more of a, I
An
don't
understanding
understand how
thing.
this fully works. So when someone else explains it to me, it's like, oh. But there's like there's it's also with the person and their intent as to why they're lawyering the
absolutely.
game, so to speak.
I think if you get the
think-
oh sorry, go on.
I think the difference between like a healthy player DM relationship and like a vindictive one is when a player tries to do something crazy and creative and the DM says, okay, explain to me what you're trying to do here. The player is like, here's what I'm trying to do and here's how I go about trying to do it. And then if the DM likes the idea, they'll be like, okay, maybe that particular part wouldn't work, but you could accomplish the same thing if you tried this. Whereas if the player is deliberately obscuring the intent of what they're doing to the DM to try and outwit them, or the DM is doing that to the player, that's when it gets like, that's when it becomes like adversarial and like trying to cheese the game rather than trying to do a cool thing. Because it's so much like it's fun to want to like surprise people with how clever you are and like not reveal the entirety of what you're doing until you do it. But in my experience, a lot of the most fun I've had playing or DMing is when the player had a crazy idea and the DM picked up on what the player was trying to do and actively worked with them to make it happen.
I think
Not like just letting them do a crazy thing, but like facilitating like what they'd need to do to accomplish a crazy thing.
yeah.
There is a danger in that. You have to be very careful about how excited you get to it, from personal experience. So in my World of Darkness game, I have 2 mages, and they're following the Mage the Ascension 20th Anniversary Edition rules. which means that the rules are incredibly obtuse and difficult to follow, but they allow you for an immense amount of creativity. Because you basically, like, the way spells are handled in that system is you have building blocks called spheres, so they're like matter or forces or whatever, and you create every spell you make out of these building blocks. So it's very important how you phrase what you're doing, right? It's not. It's two different spells whether you're teleporting your keys into your hand or reaching through a gate to grab your keys from where they are. And at some point, they were like faced with a ravine and they needed to get across this canyon chasm thing, and they figured they want to make a flying car. And I was like, "That is cool. I want to see the car fly." I got so excited that they thought I was trying to kill them and gave up on the idea.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. I think again, it's definitely something that comes down to respect. So if my players in Tave try to do some crazy shit, like, can I just bring up the fact that you used Morse code in your song to summon the only
A
rat
rat.
in the city that speaks Morse code? Like,
That was so much fun.
And you were-
insane.
And you allowed it to work.
You allowed that to work, and that was really that was a really fun.
That was fucking awesome. Like, I'm really happy with that. That was a really cool idea, and I really, really liked it. And, like,
Yes.
you were struggling because I knew what you wanted to do. You wanted to sing cheese in thing, and you couldn't do it with the notes. I'm like, okay, so you could do it with Morse code. And then I had to live with the fact that I'd given you the suggestion. And then you rolled really, really well. And I'm like, you win.
Roll well in performance.
Also,
mode
thank
when
you for
it's
the
out of
hydrate.
combat. You're welcome. It's like or like other moments. Like, I just want to, like, a side note that I've been really enjoying about last session was when you build up the anticipation of, is there going to be something behind this door, or is this item actually going to be cursed? It's like,
Yeah.
nah,
Yeah.
it's an item.
Oh
Actually, I
yeah,
just
that
wanted
was
to point
so
out that
much
was really
fucking
funny.
fun. Best.
It's
That
the
part where I had you make a saving throw against nothing. It was supposed to be like
So
an
good.
offhanded joke, like we were joking about how
Yeah.
wouldn't it be really funny if like the last one was fine, but this one was the one that killed you. So I like just took all of the dice that was on the table and put it through the thing and said make a dexterity saving throw.
Yeah.
Because I was like, haha, I'm
The
playing
one- the
into the
one
joke,
that actually
and then
got
you
me
actually
was-
thought something was going to happen, and then I just
Yeah.
rolled with it because I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
The one that
That was
got
hilarious.
me was when
And
you
then-
had them make a saving throw against fairy fire that Glad was casting. Like, that was
Yes.
the moment
It was like-
that really got me. That I was like, why are they running the same? What have I triggered
is-
with my fairy fire? What's going on? And it's like you're affected by fairy fire. I'm like, you.
Yeah, we're in
Motherfucker.
the area of fairy fire. That's how the spell works.
Oh god. That was so much it's a fireworks festival. Fuck you.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you happen to be ambushed by a monster at that particular moment, it could have had an impact. You know, that when I run like D&D, like very mechanically focused games, I'm always like, this isn't strictly necessary to do in the moment, but I'm going to have you roll for it anyway
No, absolutely.
because
And
I'm
honestly,
setting the
I was-
precedent that
I
it
was
might
also-
be important in the future.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do
And I
that.
was also absolutely fucking amazed by the fact that, like, Fairy Fire is a relatively innocent spell, right? Like, you cast it and you get advantage, and invisible creatures
Yeah.
can't go invisible. And you just kind of
Yeah.
like, everyone basically assumes that it's not friendly fire, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
the fact that you literally, like, in the moment just had this point of going, oh no, this affects all of the creatures. Yeah, these creatures are
Yeah.
in the area, thus they need to make a saving throw. It's just amazing. Like, that is such good attention to detail.
Yee.
Thank you. I do like to be particular about those kinds of things, just sort of as a force of habit. Obviously, if
Honestly,
it gets in the way of
masterclass
people having
in-
fun, do it.
It's honestly a masterclass in how rules lawyering needs to be done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's like you don't just stick to the rules when it benefits you. You stick to the rules out of principle.
Yeah.
Yep.
My favorite thing to do to freak out players and to immediately ratchet up the tension, other than rolling or asking, are you sure you do this, is to ask them at the start of the session for their passive perception, and then every so often roll for it.
Oh yeah.
You guys get so fucking freaked. It's great. Like there is honest to God fear. Like I've done this at Fortress, with the newbies, and I felt almost a little bit bad about it, but then it was just really, really funny. And just the fear you can engender in just. So your passive perception is 14, right? Ah, okay. And fucking fear.
God, whenever you said, sorry, even just like hearing you just say that now, I was looking at something else on my screen and hearing you say that, and just like my brain immediately went, "Oh no, what's about to happen?"
Immediate panic. It's great.
I feel like it's especially impactful if you like comment on it. So like you're like, "What's your passive perception?" And they're like 12, and then you're like,
Thank you. Yeah. Or
interesting choice. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I like to do for the World of Darkness game is like I take a handful of dice, roll them, and I just go.
I think I got
So
you.
that's like,
Go on.
yeah,
You can
there go,
certainly
that's a good
try is a great one.
Oh yeah,
one. Certainly try, yeah.
Sarah, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say one thing that I like doing as a player or something, or like sometimes is that my phrase where I would actually not in like D&D like spaces, but when I was playing games with a friend, something might go like slightly wrong or something would happen, and then maybe I'd make like a slight noise and she's like, "What's going on?" I'd be like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Like it's nothing. Like don't worry about it." And
Don't worry
she's
about
like,
it.
Every
It's
time
fine.
you say that, something awful is about to happen, and it
Oh,
usually
yeah.
would.
No, I love that moment, and you've got to be really careful not to overdo it, because if you overdo it, it loses its thing. I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think in the last Taves episode, I really freaked you out because I asked you what hand you're reaching for this thing with.
Oh my god.
That.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
I was convinced that I was gonna lose it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm convinced.
Like, I'm not going to explain why, but you immediately assumed malice, and I could just feel the fear, and I'm like, oh. Oh, okay.
Did he assume malice or did he assume malfeasance?
Yeah. That's right. But it's
I've
the
never
same
said
with,
malice
with,
this much in one session in my life. I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
Absolutely. But Siege literally did the same thing with when Glug checked for bleach.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
was so
actually
good.
sort of mattered. That actually sort of mattered, not because you lost your finger, but just because I wanted to conceptualize how much it would hurt.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think back when I was doing my very first dungeon, because the way I learned to play D&D was I ran a dungeon for my family that I homebrewed, and then to teach myself how to be a DM, I was like, I have to do it in such a way as I can never ever back down from it, right? So I have to do the biggest trial by fire for it. So what I did was I went on Reddit and got 4 or 5 different groups and ran them all in 1 week. Don't do that. As a new DM, don't do that. But what I did find is some really, really good moments of I had these possessed armors with like a gemstone in the heart of them. And one of the players was like, I want to steal a gemstone. I'm like, okay. And oh, so do you touch it? What? Do you touch the armor? No, I used my sword to pry it out. I'm like, okay. Do you hold on to your sword? Like, do you hold on to what I was trying to get at, right? The whole point in me doing that was that the armor was really, really hot, right? And so if they were holding onto like the blade of the sword to kind of chisel it up, they would feel that the blade got hot. That's where I was going with that. The way they freaked out about the idea of it, like, because I was very new at DMing. I didn't really realize that that's the technique I was kind of employing, and it was very much a panic for them. And it was just like the armor literally had a thing of fire in it, like 2 seconds ago that you just killed. Like the armor's gonna be hot. That's where I was going with that. But players' fear will make everything worse. It's great.
It was a wonderful moment of bad decision making in my World of Darkness group. So, like, back in 2009, this happened, where they got a hold of artifacts that could, like, basically, I called them the artifacts of the beginning or something like that, where the artifacts had the power to make anyone using them correctly or even incorrectly into kind of like the type of creature that the artifact represented, because it used to be
Ooh.
like the relic of the very first of those creatures. And so what my players did is they ended up like the group ended up stuck in Serbia, I think I placed them in, and they went to like an antiquities dealer and gave him this silver ankh with a ruby set in it. And he was like experimenting with it and opened it up. And once he opened it up, he turned into dust. And the players just went, okay, we're going to close that up. We're going to put all of those highly powerful artifacts into a bag and leave them behind a dumpster in an alleyway in Belgrade.
Sure. Yep. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
This has been biting them in the ass for the past like 5 years. And like recently they found out what the items do, right? And only recently, like just a couple of sessions ago, a couple of months ago, they
Ow.
realized what the items did. And one of my players literally looked at me and said, was that why the antiquities dealer turned to dust? Because what happened was the Ankh made the antiquities dealer into a vampire in broad fucking daylight.
Hey, clever. Very clever. Very clever.
That's smart.
And that was like, for me personally, that was an incredibly rewarding moment, because I got to see a player like literally have a light bulb
Yeah.
go on, like literally
Yeah.
realize a thing
Oh, I
from
love
like
that.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just so incredibly rewarding.
I love that. I love that a lot. I love that moment of realization that players get.
Yeah,
I think
Absolutely.
I had one in the Blades game with Skull. Because I remember it was his character was his family had been murdered, very much like a
Spider-Man.
Batman type thing.
Oh,
And so when you guys kind of found that possessed little girl, the one that could see spirits and all that, and she started speaking with
Yeah.
a very familiar voice to him, he realized who it was. And I don't know why all of my Triumph stories end with my players cussing me out, but he did cuss me out. He's like, oh, fuck off. I'm like, yes. Oh god, I miss that game so much. I wish I had more time to play it again, like to keep going, because there were so many good stories
Yeah.
still left for it, and like I just don't have time to run it anymore. I mean, I have a whole one-shot server that I've wanted to do shit with since I started it, and I feel so guilty that I got everyone into it and I've done nothing with it because I have no free time to do anything these days.
how dare you not run amazing games for us for free?
I know, the absolute gall of me. No, it's just like all the people there are people I would like to play with in games and be able to hang out with in games. And then, like, I've just not had the chance to do that. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I know. But what can you do? We on that grind. Gotta, go for
Ball.
we ball. We ball. Yeah. I have plans for this channel. I have a lot of plans for this channel, and I need to put them into action. Like,
Uh-oh.
because I've mentioned wanting to fill the other Thursday slot, because it feels really disingenuous
Yeah.
to do alternate Final Fantasy kind of thing. You know what I mean? On these Thursdays, and I don't quite like the feel of it. So I would like to fill it with another TTRPG thing. I've also just got to find the time to fucking write that.
We could see if potentially more people are interested in like guest DMing.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Taking the pressure off me to DM, fuck yes, please. Like,
I had a completely
yes.
different suggestion of a TTRPG, and I just DM'd you after,
Oh.
just as you were saying, yeah, take the pressure off me, and I was just like, oh wait.
Oh, no, it's alright.
me like put the pressure on, do another game series.
I feel like you can put that in the other chat, and Night Wanderer will know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'll put it in, yeah.
It's really tempting, though. It really is tempting. I will not. I will not elaborate. So yeah, I've been considering putting another TTRPG here, or having like, I think having people want to guest DM would be amazing. Like that would be awesome. But I also don't want to. I don't want to put that pressure on people as well. Like, it's the same thing I kind of have with you guys. Like, you guys have. I completely understand if you need to take breaks, if you need to do other things. This is a long form campaign. It's taking a while. I appreciate the effort that you guys put in, and the fact that you are so willing to come back every week for this. Well, every 2 weeks for this. So, like, I will never try and take more of your time than I kind of have to.
You would have to chase me away with a gun
Oh,
to stop me from coming to these sessions.
Oh, my heart. That's so fucking sweet. Thank you. That's completely derailed me now because I have no idea what I was going to say.
Always had an absolute blast playing Taves.
No, honestly, same.
Aw, guys, thank you.
I know
And I would
it's been
be-
really fun having you as a player, but whenever I have a DM, like a session that you're DMing, I'm like, oh, let's skip to my chair today.
That means a lot. Thank you. We are actually looking for another player to join Taves to round it out to give you guys a bit more of like a balance.
No forcing, but please be a healer. Please, need a cleric, please, or some kind of other healer.
What's
please,
up,
do
Dork?
Class.
This will probably be the last question as the battle is going to finish very soon. So what's up?
You know what's really unfortunate? Ripley was like, I would love to join on a campaign, but unfortunately at the moment their Thursdays are like when they've got classes and then work right after. But like know that they are desperate to join a campaign that you run.
How do we apply for that extra player slot? If you would like to
Just kidding, haha. Unless.
unless if you are actually interested in doing so, I will you can DM me on Twitter or Discord or whatever if you have me. Like
You could always sort out something as a mod / me and you. I've got some suggestions on how we could do that. if you're
yeah,
okay.
please, I would love to.
We'll get back into contact with you. Just also so you don't get overloaded with DMs.
Yeah. I said the word you can DM me, and then my brain immediately went, I already have like in my inbox right now, I have like in the little notification thing, I have 17 messages in the last 3 hours.
Yikes.
Like a lot.
Maybe hold off.
Sparrow,
hold off
you are
on
the
DMing
DM.
just- Maybe hold off on DMing just yet. Everyone will probably figure something out for that, because if there will be multiple applicants for it, then we can figure out something a little bit. Just so then, especially because Sparrow's busy, in case it's also to ensure that no DMs get missed by accident. Figure something out, and then we'll announce it in the main Discord.
Yee.
It will probably be announced on Sparrow's Twitter as well. So
Oh fuck yes.
please do not overload streamer with too many DMs.
Okay. Alrighty. So, my doves, that is the end of the battle. My brain is completely mush and I have to get up for work tomorrow. So, we're going to call the stream here. If you guys have any more questions, do feel free to join the Discord and put them into the questions channel. Yeah, please, definitely do. I'll probably do another call out about it and I'll talk with them. Yeah, absolutely fair. It's hard work. While I find us somebody to raid, unless anybody in the stream has any suggestions on who we can raid.
Not anyone.
Yeah, I'm always looking for new people, so it'd be good to find more people.
I do not.
Damn it. I wonder, do you have anyone on your? You don't either, Sage? Damn it.
No.
I've got.
Final Fantasy official is streaming, but it's all in Japanese at the moment. There isn't an official English translation for the live stream that they're currently doing.
Dang it.
Sad face. I'm scrolling through.
I have a few people that I can go and raid, but I would like to raid a D&D or like TTRPG.
D&D Jordan Lee is having an uncapped Sabathon at the moment, but I think they're on lurk
Ah.
at the moment. But it is showing. It is definitely like the active thing is definitely word AP.
You haven't fun there, are you?
Yeah, no, there was a conniption in my brain.
I mean, he speaks 3 languages. Like, you're gonna fuck up a couple of them. Every so often. That's just what it does.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ow.
We managed to fuck up one language.
yeah. Other than that, nobody really, like doing anything other. Elden Ring is pretty big at the moment because the DLC dropped.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing that, so I can't.
Yeah, I
You
still
have-
haven't gotten around to buying the game and playing it, but I will at some point.
Please do. Let me know when you do, because it's really, really fun. I'm looking at somebody who's doing some world building, so I might go and see them.
Okay.
Although, hold on, followers only chat. Listen, like I get it. I get why people do it, but it is impossible as a streamer to then raid into you, because if you're in followers only chat, we can't talk
You
unless
can't
we
say
follow.
hi.
And like, how do I know if I want to follow you if you're in followers only?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, and that's like, I get why people do it. Like, 100% I get why people do it, but like, it does push people away. Okay, I'm just clicking through some of the other ones. Who are you? Okay, that's just an ad. Cool. Someone has an ad as a live stream. Good for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the link for that later, so you can see what I saw.
Lucky Red Sparrow viewers also watch Modular Realms,
Do I?
who is on with D&D.
March of the
Yeah.
Realms.
They're doing. I think this is actually who you meant when you said world building.
Oh,
followers
yeah.
on the chat.
Yeah.
That's the. I'm just,
Yeah, it
just
looks like
ignore me.
somebody new with only like 8 followers. Should we go raid them? They're doing Adventurers
Sure.
League. I have no
Yeah.
idea. They don't have followers only chat on, and they have 1 viewer. So let's go send some love. I have no idea about them, never met them, but fuck it, we vibe. Okay, I'm gonna cue that up.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you guys for hanging with me this long. This was awesome.
It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah, it was nice to just chat shit for a while.
I did hear that one.
That noise.
Sorry.
I'm just hearing. I thought I heard a noise, and I don't know if I was just hearing things.
No, it was my cat throwing himself bodily against that door. That's how he opens it.
Let
It's,
him in.
that is why there is a chair there.
It's
Okay.
like if I don't close my door fully, like make it click, and if I just keep it
Oh,
like half closed,
Actually, one
the
second.
dog will just nose his way in. And it's really okay. Yeah, the dog will just nose his way in, and then it's just really funny. And then because like what he'll do is because I wasn't here for a while because I was at uni, he would use my room to just sit and chill. So he'll come in, and if he sees that I'm in here, sometimes he'll come and sit on my bed, and other times he'll be like, "Oh, you're in here," and just turn around and walk right back out. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, little
Oh.
guy. I see how this is.
Sorry, loves. All right.
Just a little guy."
I will start the raid.
Yeah.
We're gonna send them some love. Yeah. Sorry about that. Got a thing to do. So,
Okay.
thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for hanging with me. It's been an absolute blast. If you guys want to plug anything, now is the time to do so.
I will be streaming at 6.
Can you peek?
Nice.
I'll be streaming in 6 hours, and tonight is Vampire, the Souls-like game from 2016.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
That's it. I'm Night Wanderer. Wanderer with an O.
Fuck yeah.
Catch me at Twitter and
Oh, yeah.
Blue Sky and all of the places.
Hell yeah.
And sometimes cool.
And join us for part 2 of the Nightmare House whenever we decide to
Yes.
run that.
Yes.
Keep an eye out. Watch this space.
I will be. So, Sarah, did you want to plug anything?
I can't think of anything to plug.
Okay. So I will be live tomorrow night with Final Fantasy, I believe.
Hopefully you'll get in.
Hopefully I'll get in.
Hopefully Keith will be
Otherwise,
too bad in OCE.
otherwise I will do something else. I don't know. But I will be live again tomorrow night with more dumb shit. So I'm gonna do the outro really quickly. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to drink water, eat food, take your meds, and do not, under any circumstances, lick the demon that you summoned to piss off your neighbors, because, as we all know, consent is indeed consexy, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!
She's at the thing! Let's go!